some numbers going on.
All right, guys. Welcome to Cinco de Drinko. Cinco de Mayo, Clevelandmoto Podcast Edition, episode number 424. I've got a delightful margarita. House margarita.
I've got a Mexican lager.
Sleepy, what you drinking, buddy?
Athletic Brewing, something or other.
Athletic. So would you say that you're an athletic supporter?
I am.
Okay.
Very athletic build, too.
Hey, good. Tom's our bartender. He's in the background. What's he drinking?
I have a margarita, and I just poured one of the long drinks. So
A long drink.
I am
The
double.
long drinks are delightful.
I am double
do
fisting.
like those. Mr. Meckelfresh.
Noble Beast, Into the Void, a Munich-style dark lager.
We will be mentioning Noble Beast later because there's an event coming up. We're very happy about that. And then, Mr. Kromke, what do you have down there?
I'm drinking the same thing John is, but for show and tell, I did bring something.
Uh-oh.
Yes, tell us more, Dan.
Here we go.
So, I ordered this online.
Uh-oh.
Oh, yeah.
Uh-oh.
This is the Bourbon Blaster 3000.
The Bourbon Blaster 3. Oh, whoa. Holy
yeah.
shit.
Oh, yeah.
Whoa.
We did pre-test.
So, right in his mouth. That's fantastic.
No, that wasn't right in my mouth.
Did you get maced? Well, it fell over, Dan. It fell over.
Do I have it on mist?
I have a drinking problem. As in, I can't get it in my mouth.
Okay, now
no.
I have
was a lot-
questions.
that was a lot
So
of-
that's battery operated in the handle?
Right.
Oh.
You have to, no, you got to do it point blank.
Not
like-
sleepy.
Point blank.
I mean, don't try to go.
Hang on.
Don't try to go for the long
wrap it
shot.
up.
That
You're
didn't
not
work.
trying to go
Not
for
over the board.
area,
Not over the
area
board.
coverage.
No, that's not gonna. No, that's
No.
Oh,
that's amazing.
Who wants to drink from the fire hose?
That worked out about as well as I
Soaker
thought.
That's a
900.
converted bug sprayer.
Dan Kromke, who's 30% blind.
I have
with the gun.
He's shooting by ear and he's double deaf.
You would not work at Benihana.
I swear, officer, I had nothing to drink this evening, guys.
You'd get fired.
It's bourbon bukkake.
This is for our OnlyFans.
Oh my goodness! Look at that! It's doing quite the work right there.
Like an ounce every 5 seconds.
Okay, go ahead and distribute that again, Dan.
1, 2,
Stop.
3.
There you go.
That's a healthy portion.
Yeah.
That's a generous portion. So that is drinking from the fire hose. And there's a couple of AA batteries inside that sumbitch.
4 of them.
So there's no what you call it? There's no pressure in the vessel.
No.
Okay, so it's not really a garden sprayer anymore.
They make garden sprayers that actually have electric. That's
That's what I use for killing ants at my house.
So that you don't have to pump it. You don't have, it has a little motor and battery.
That's my ant stuff, my ortho stuff.
This
I
one
talk
is
about.
made for barbecue. So
it's food safe.
Yeah.
That's a good idea. Well, what I like especially about that is that you can use any container.
Yeah.
You could put.
You need to be able to put it right on a bottle.
That's the trick. So the trick
I already
is.
looked at big clear bottles that go right on this thing.
Yeah, with a backstrap.
I mean, put it right in the bourbon.
That's what I'm saying. Just put a.
We have that technology. We can figure it out.
Yeah, adapters can be made.
Especially if it's a screw top bourbon.
Right.
So screw top bourbon's perfect. You don't spill it.
Right.
That's brilliant.
Or you just make a cork that you can screw into that. And
Yep.
the other stuff.
I
whatever you
agree.
need.
I think that's a great idea. Bourbon Fairy is going to be on point this year.
Oh, yeah.
Well, only at close range.
boy.
Bourbon
Only at
Fairy upped
real
his
close
game.
range.
Oh, I have a feeling
you kinda
once
crank it
Bourbon Fairy
down.
gets dialed.
Kind of like.
No. We don't want to mist it. No, because somebody's going to breathe. You ever try to breathe in and you get
Mr.
that vapor?
Mr. Barbecue Mister.
It's Mr. Barbecue Mister. That would be Mr. Mister.
We're going to have to print it down the side.
Yeah.
Bourbon Blaster 2000.
The Bourbon Blaster.
That was a very overrated band of the 80s.
It was Mr. Mister.
Yeah.
Coming soon to our OnlyFans.
Yeah. Mr. Squared. The so that's
recovering from being blasted.
No, I have to.
Sorry, Chris. I really missed on that last shot.
Kind of.
I didn't hear it. I didn't get it.
Again, the money shot is only available to.
I shot it all over his face.
The money shot only available at $10 and over.
The $10 Patreon level, you'll get a money shot.
I got the bourbon
Pass this
pearl
down to
necklace.
Chris so he can actually drink some of it.
Now, what do you have loaded into the Bourbon Blaster 2000?
Oh, it's bullet rye.
It's bullet. Oh,
yeah,
that's great.
it's bullet rye.
Oh, that's fantastic. You're good for us.
Yeah.
And a Merry Christmas was had by all. Soon to be a Merry Christmas.
He asked me. He says, "What's your cheapest whiskey?" I said, "Well, I got Bullet."
That's it. The bar's a little high power right now.
We're not throwing it away. We're drinking it.
Oh, I know.
No, but I also like the fact
It
that
also doubles as ant killer too.
it does. It will.
I'm
a
not
slight
drinking it. I feel
borax
like
finish.
I'm wearing it.
Well, again, it's a facial. So, God, do you know
feel
what I'm
younger.
missing the most about this Cinco de Mayo?
What's that?
Cinco de Mexican. Oscar.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
I'm missing Oscar right now.
Yeah.
I'm missing Oscar sitting here looking sad about the appropriation of the culture and sitting here going like, yeah, this is worse than
Can you
St.
pass
Patty's
that down
Day.
to Cranky?
Because this is totally St. Pedro's Day.
Well, nobody's French, right?
No,
Okay, then we don't have to beat anybody.
no, that's exactly it. You're fine.
Why
You're
don't
all
you have
good.
tequila in there?
Cinco de Mayo.
Well, I mean,
Yeah.
there's tequila.
We
right
have
here.
tequila here.
Not that I'm
We
going to
got you
drink
covered.
any.
Right, exactly.
Don't need a load of
I
it
love
for me.
the audio. The audio of that is spectacular. The audio of that gun, the bourbon gun.
The bourbon gun.
I feel like you could paint a car with that thing, probably.
I'm sure you could.
Strip a car, maybe.
That is one step better technology than the Harbor Freight Power Painter. Yeah. That is truly one step better. Oh, man.
Nope.
So I am missing Oscar. So I know Oscar's going to listen to this because he's a loyal listener.
No.
And Oscar, we miss you, goddammit. We
Yeah,
miss you.
Oscar for crying out
Yep.
loud.
Cinco, I drove past C. Senor today on one of my 17 trips to the gas station, prepping bikes and stuff. And I drove past C. Senor and it smelled so good. Like they were laying in the carne asada. So I drove by and I just got a whiff of that strong flavor. And I was like, oh man, I want to go to C. Senor tonight before I go to the podcast. Then I realized, oh no, Cinco de Mayo, you can't go near that place
Oh
today.
no.
I only had
but
one
you-
goal for today, and that was to get Mexican food, and that's not going to happen.
I
even
have
Taco Bell.
tortilla chips upstairs, but the sloppy joes may or may not go with them.
Do we put some cumin in with them?
Sloppy
I do
Joes
have
go with
cumin
everything,
upstairs, so if
yeah.
you want,
No, it's all right.
all right.
I had a sloppy John. It was good.
Sloppy John's pretty. Look, the food layout tonight. The food that we have to say, the Rathskeller, the Rathskeller continues to deliver because the Sloppy Joes, pulled pork last time. Sloppy Joes,
Craft services.
craft
off the hook.
services is off the hook here, man. Yeah, we've really stepped it up a notch with the craft services side of things. It's good. So definitely big thumbs up to Cinco de Mayo. So we love that. That's a good thing. And yeah.
Chihuahua.
And demonetized. Okay.
I guess we could have put tequila in the.
We could have.
bourbon blaster.
We should have. I mean, there's.
If you were thinking ahead.
about that.
That's true. That is true.
We did not plan accordingly. This has been a bad day all around. There should have been carne asada.
Oh
There
my
should have
God.
been walking taco, like the first time with the tacos.
I'll be very clear and say that a bag of Fritos opened up, dump in the
chili mac, yeah.
chili mac,
Yeah.
and you're done.
Oh, yeah.
You're just done. Dump in the chili mac on top of the Fritos.
Oh, yeah.
The IX Center figured out how to charge $12 for that shit, and I will never forgive them. And I was always like, what idiot will pay for that? And then I bought one.
And then you realize
And I was
it's
like,
worth
this
the
is
$12.
genius.
Yeah.
This is so
Oh,
much
yeah.
better than nachos. So yeah, that was the walking taco really took it to the next level.
See, when I first heard somebody say a walking taco, I
Yeah.
was like, where is she?
Hey, yo.
Bump.
Demonetized.
And demonetized.
There needs to be a button for that.
So you guys may have heard me mention on our podcast, some of our listeners, one of our listeners and patrons is named Scrap Talk.
Yeah. I remember Scrap Top.
I got to meet Scrap Talk.
Really?
He came into the shop.
Oh, shit.
He's buying a G400C.
Oh, well done.
Nice.
Oh,
A red one? Or
He's buying a green one.
Yeah.
Fucking dude is awesome.
right.
But he's got Parkinson's,
What?
which just makes him more interesting. It's yeah, but I guess he's the guy who I think is the test subject for the Roundup lawsuit. So apparently he's going through some shit right now.
Oh, shit.
So he's really going through some shit right now. So he's recovering for some medical issues at the moment. So he's on a little bit of a timeout for the G400C.
Yeah.
But he's riding a big KTM when he's full powered, right? But now he's on the DL. But he came in and checked out the G400C and threw a leg over it and pronounced it exactly what he was looking for.
Nice. Did you ever see
in that price range.
Did you ever see the footage of the Roundup dude? He's on like a French television show and he's like the U.S. ambassador of Roundup.
No.
And the guy's talking and the French ambassador is like, "You say it's safe." And he's like, "Of course it's safe." He goes, "We wouldn't put it out there if it wasn't." He said that you say it's so safe that you can drink it. He goes, "Yes. It's been tested in the factory." And so the dude goes, "Great, because we happen to have a gallon here." And he puts a glass in front of the guy.
No.
And the guy refuses. He's just like, "I'm not stupid."
No shit.
Yeah.
I'm not stupid enough to drink the stuff I
It
told
was
you was
awesome,
safe.
dude.
Watch the documentary
yeah?
on lead, where the guy does drink.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
And on black and white film.
and that's the one that does end up dying
And he
of lead
died
poisoning.
of lead poisoning
Yeah.
not long after.
Yeah,
He
right,
died
right.
of cancer, terminal cancer, not long after.
Yeah.
So there you go. You guys know that every year for a couple of weekends in October, I disappear to Detroit. And I disappear to Detroit for Theater Bazaar. And I go to Theater Bazaar because it is my favorite overpowered Halloween party. And it is. It's crazy. The term immersive is not accurate. It's in a 10-story Masonic temple.
It's more like insertive.
That band,
Yes.
the Theater Bazaar band played New Orleans, and I went to go see them. They were amazing.
They're amazing. Yeah, the Theater Bazaar Orchestra.
Oh yeah,
Their house band, if you want to buy a CD of really good, but also kind of like spooky carnival
Creepy
sideshow
carnival
music,
sideshow music. That's
got that.
it's his own genre.
they got that figured out,
Yeah.
man. And they
Oh,
got
yeah.
it figured out. And they're about a 20-piece orchestra.
Really?
So much fun.
Watching them at Siberia, New Orleans was an experience, and I kept tagging you and Kyle. I was like, "Look, where are you guys, and what's
Yeah.
going on?"
Two bands have been spawned from Theater Bazaar. One, the first year Mukapatsa showed up and did a great job as a adult punk rock marching band. And so they come through and it's the best thing you've ever heard. Guys playing electric guitars through little Mattel level speakers mounted on their special needs helmets. Right. And these are all degenerate band fags who've grown up to, continue loving music.
That's what we do.
But now, Detroit being Detroit, they created the Detroit Party Band, which for certain events calls themselves the Dead Pirate Band.
Oh, nice.
And they'll show up in Dead Pirate regalia, and so much fun. But so that, and then of course the Theater Bazaar Orchestra. So Theater Bazaar, having conquered the month of October, has decided that they should now conquer April or May.
May.
So May the 4th be with you. And so May the 4th be with you is all about space dive. And space dive, to put not too fine a point on it, is the dive bar at the end of the galaxy. And so those of you,
Wait. You've said it wrong.
yeah, go ahead.
Because if we're real geeks,
Yeah.
it's the dive bar at the end of the universe.
It is. Yeah, it is. We're not,
Good
No,
enough.
it is, isn't it?
the idea is everything that you remember from the Star Wars cantina
Oh yeah.
on a lower budget.
Yeah.
On just maybe not as much money. So you are required to be in costume. There is no showing up without your costume.
Right.
And there's that sense where you might be judged. Don't show up cheap. This is the time to bring it.
Yep.
This is the time to spend your money.
Yep.
But yeah, the music, the people, it's going to be good. It's going to be great. So I've got, I'm going Saturday night, tomorrow night after work.
So it's May the 4th, but they're just making it like May the 11th or something.
No, it started yesterday.
Oh, really?
So they did Thursday night, they do Friday night, Saturday night. And I think Thursday or Fridays for the kids. Like it's for all ages kind of thing.
okay.
The other nights are not for the kids.
Yeah, probably not.
And so that's I can just assure you that is not going to be for the children.
Are you going to tell us what your costume is?
My costume is taking a bit of a turn.
He's going as Slave Leia.
Okay, I can't beat that. So, what I've done is, who here saw the movie Alien?
The original?
Alien.
Sigourney Weaver.
Yeah, Sigourney Weaver.
Yeah.
He's going as Sigourney Weaver.
If you're going to go with Sigourney in her underwear, I want to see this.
All right. No, I'm not.
hell
I'm
of a pair of
going
spanks.
as, you guys remember the face hugger.
Yeah.
Don't stare down into anything that looks like an egg sack,
Yeah.
Right.
because who the fuck would?
Right.
But we all remember that. So what I'm doing is a sort of an interpretation. I'm doing a NASA jumpsuit. You know, what you wear when you're in the shuttle. Mm-hmm. But with the facehugger, meaning that our space program has stumbled upon the same fucked up planet. Yeah. Okay. And so it's the combination of the NASA scientist or the NASA astronaut who's about to hatch a alien out of his chest cavity. Yeah, exactly. So that's kind of what I did.
So did you make a facehugger or did you get one? Or?
I found one.
Okay.
It is the
you
most
can see through
uncomfortable piece of shit you've ever found in your life. It's really accurate. It looks good.
How are you going to drink with this? Did you drill a hole through it and put a straw?
Did. So this particular face hugger mask has two little eye holes that are put in impossibly close together. Right? It was not made for humans from this country. It was made for somebody else entirely. But what I found was if you wear it a little lower so you can see, right? So if you wear the face hugger a little lower on your face, what used to be eye holes become cocktail holes. And I'll be taking with me a very long straw.
Yeah, right.
So I can enjoy while I'm there. But yeah, that's the idea. So
now, if you were slick, right?
I'm slick.
You'd wrap the straw around your head and only drink red drink, so it looks like there's blood flying around, you know?
I'm not that slick. Apparently, I am not quite that slick.
And if you squeeze its tail, it's an ovipositor, so you get actually a little bit of.
That's the whole idea with the ovipositor, exactly. So
You mean a splorch?
a splorch. Yeah, exactly. We could splorch as much as you'd like to splorch. May the splorch be with you,
There you go.
and also with you,
And also with you.
But yeah, that's what I'll be doing.
And all your spawn.
Let us pray.
Let us pray. So I'll be doing that tomorrow night. That's what I'm up to. A quick down and dirty fast trip to Detroit for a party. And that's my favorite way to do it. So
Seems to be the only way to go to Detroit. Is just down and dirty.
just get
go.
there. Just get there and make it happen and get the fuck out. Right? That really is. That's about it. I can't say enough about these. When somebody puts way too much time and effort into just a bad idea, well, AMA Vintage Days.
It becomes the city of New Orleans.
It's exactly what we do. So yay. Wanted to spend a brief moment. I wanted to spend a brief moment talking about the Italjet Dragster because we announced it as a super secret. This might happen, right?
Yeah.
We announced it as a super secret, a little bit of insider information kind of thing, right? And it turns out that a little bit of insider information paid off because it's real now. It exists. It's a thing that actually exists on the planet. And it turns out that we're getting them. So that's a big deal.
You know what? Let me ask you something.
Yeah.
When with that front end,
Yeah.
so it doesn't have dive when you brake, right?
That's the idea.
So I mean, for a smaller wheel bike like that probably changes the aspect of how it handles completely.
It does.
Okay.
Yeah, it does. I've ridden a bunch of them, and they're pretty fucking awesome. But the difference was when they came out the first time around, when they existed in their first generation 20 years ago, more. What they lacked was the right powertrain. So you could get them with a 50cc. Forget about that. You could get them with a 125 two-stroke, and you can get them with a 180 two-stroke. And the 180 two-stroke was very rewarding. It was fun to ride, and it did spool up, and it did do all the stuff that you'd want a 180 two-stroke to do. And there were ample tuning kits for it and all kinds of cool shit. That was never a problem. So now when it's coming out, though, two-strokes are kind of forbidden, right? We know that there's just not much in the way of two-strokes that we can have legally and keep around. So what I'm happy about is the new one that's coming out uses a motor that I am a fan of. Here many years ago at the shop, we had these bikes made by SYM called the HD 200s. Ooh. And in a very unfucking cool way, I said that it wasn't just a strong motor, it was retard strong. And it was like, this motor shouldn't be this fast, but a regular HD 200 would go almost 80 miles an hour on a big wheeled scooter chassis. And I thought that was pretty badass in its day. But now we're taking that exact same motor and we're matching it with God's very own suspension system. So I'm pretty happy about that. I think that's a really good opportunity for us to have a very sexy scooter. Because even when you're talking about like a Vespa GTS or, a Primavera, those are sexy scooters, but nothing about them says like, I'm going to handle particularly well, or I'm going to be fun or adventurous to ride. This, on the other hand, actually, it looks like it's going to be fun. I think this is going to be an actually fun vehicle to ride. And because that motor platform has been around for quite a while, there's already gobs of tuning shit for it. So scaring an extra 5 or 6 horsepower out of this thing probably won't be too much of a problem. So I'm pretty excited about that.
I wonder what they're going to do for like. You think people that buy these are going to buy racks or anything? Because obviously there's no storage anywhere on it.
You know what? Sleepy, I think you're right. I think this is the fuck you. Yeah. I think this is the fuck you bike. I think this is the bike that just says, you know what?
Get a backpack.
Yeah, get a fucking bag. Thank you. If you can read this, the R2 unit fell off. Yeah. Right. I just don't think that. I don't think that this is the kind of scooter that would even suggest commuting.
No.
Right. I don't think this is the kind of scooter that even suggests anything other than, fuck you, look at my scooter.
Yeah, don't think you're going to Mark's on this thing.
No.
So where that dude's feet are on that.
That's the bitch pegs.
Okay, so he's just using it like
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, he's got his feet up on the passenger pegs. That's all he's got going on right there.
It doesn't even look like you could have a passenger.
Well, John.
Well, in Italy, the women can fit back there.
Okay, point taken. I'm not getting a ride on one of those.
That is exactly correct. Yeah. This is not for the well-fed or the well-endowed, I think. I really do think
no problem here.
I think this scooter might just be one of those things that you hate it until you look at it.
You know, having fallen for this for 20 years.
Right. Yeah.
Until you pull the first nail out of that crate, this bike does not exist.
Yeah, well, I mean, the good news is they're arriving in customer hands in other countries already. And the people who spent the money to get into the United States are spending the money to get it homologated.
Distributed.
Right, exactly. So
now, is the back tire thicker, like an actual?
Oh, yeah.
Right?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that is a fundamental design element to this vehicle.
All right. Okay. All right. Yeah. Let's
almost to a ludicrous proportion.
Yeah.
Let's go ahead and do it.
Almost like you can't back up that tire.
Yeah.
All right. How much does this bad decision cost?
It's going to be in the 10 range. Oof. Yeah. Oh, no. This is a fuck you scooter, guys.
Yeah.
This is not, nobody's trying to be price competitive here.
No.
Did you happen to notice where the front suspension is?
Yeah. It's that army thing.
It's in the middle of the bike.
Yeah. It's an army thing, or the arm
It's
goes
that.
up.
Oh yeah, no.
It's
This is a Caesars. This is exactly
This is center
Kajiva.
hub steering.
This is exactly where you
This
want to be
is-
with way too much money.
Well, it's cheaper than the Justin Bieber, so
Whoa, there you go. That shot's fired, but well done.
way cheaper than the Gucci bike.
Way cheaper than the rabbit bike.
Oh no, what's the
Cheaper than the bunny. That's right.
what's
Cheaper
the-
than the 946 bunny.
What's the other one we can't actually get?
The Christian Dior.
The Dior. Yeah.
Christian Dior is $23,000.
I know.
Yeah, that's what I was talking about.
Yeah. That's fuck that, man. So anyway,
I like
just thought I'd bring that up.
I like the chocolate one myself.
Yeah.
You have to take those out to Norwalk or the raceway, like you know what I mean. Like that's the pit bike for the dragster.
I feel yes, that's the pit bike. Yes,
I'm just saying.
exactly.
Yeah, I know.
That is
dragster.
Right. That is the Italjet dragster, which is the pit bike for your actual dragster.
Just
You know what
saying.
this would look good in the garage? This would look good in the garage next to your Ariel Atom. Right? That would look really nice. If that's a good combination. But I do think that this is entering the zone of fuck you, no apologies, motor scooter. That's fine.
Yeah.
And anybody who says like, well, whatever. It's not.
It needs a nitrous kit.
Why not? Sure. Okay. Why the hell not? Do you think that any red-blooded, pasta slurping Italian speed junkie is going to ignore this fucking thing? No. They're going to sit up late at night dreaming about weird shit they can do to this bike. And you know who's going to make it all happen? It's the Germans.
But you know what's weird when you see this cool of a scooter? it's kind of sucky not to see the tailpipe come out and curl around. You know what I mean? Like there's just having a big 4-stroke thing.
Having a giant expansion chamber on there.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Having a giant fuck you expansion chamber on there is kind of cool.
Yeah. Even if it is a 4-stroke, we want expansion chambers on there. It sound awesome. Through an expansion.
That's, you know.
I don't think that, and I have seen a few aftermarket exhausts that emulate expansion chambers, and we know they're on 4-stroke bikes, so we're kind of like,
we always
you.
laugh. They curl
But
back.
it's usually Chinese.
Of course.
Yeah.
Kind of like, fuck, man, why'd you
Same
do
guys
that?
that made the fake shocks.
Yes, yeah.
We had a long discussion.
We had a long discussion about
Too long.
Look, there it is, the Virus 987 C3 4V, which is exactly the bike you're going to own if this is your pit bike.
I'm gonna bring up a picture so you guys can see what an expansion chamber on
here we go.
old dragster looks like, because it is a sex crime.
Yeah. It's so cool looking, man.
It's I'll pull it up here in just a second. The biggest, so PM Tuning, right? Paul McLeod, he did this pipe on a dragster that is just the most ridiculous fucking pipe. But it is a true 2-stroke tuning experience that you have to, and I do want to call attention to the picture here, because look at the fucking carburetor directly above the fucking pipe, because the carburetor is where children go to die. That will suck in anything.
Including the hot air coming off the expansion chamber.
So when you look at this picture of this particular expansion chamber, there's a lot of science there. There's a whole lot of science there. But this is purely about like 18,000 RPM, liquid cooled, 180 cc, 2-stroke, probably power band that's 2,000 RPM wide, right? And probably has like a 4,000 stall on the clutch. It's a pretty, I know it's not right. I know it's weird, but I like it. Mm-hmm. This is the old one. This is the original one.
Yeah, right.
And I do like it. I can't.
So if you melted down a
It's a clown
Ducati
car.
620, this is exactly
It
what
is.
you would
It is. This is
It's the 620, just detuned.
It's a very weird little bike.
Yeah.
It's a very weird little bike. And I love it. I can't help but love it. The first ones that came out, when the dragsters came out, I was just too big for it. So when I sat on a dragster, because I wanted to buy one, and the shop I was working at, we were going to be set up to be a dealer for them. Yeah. And so the first dragster that came out that wasn't a 50, I sat on it and I took it for a ride. And they all came with broken bodywork, just typical, very fragile.
They had the worst plastic.
Just garbage.
Yeah.
They all arrived broken. So people took these broken blue and yellow and, dragsters and then just waited for the bodywork to show up. But I took one for a ride, and at even the full-size 180cc one, I didn't fit on under any circumstances. So then there was a smuggled-in Gilera Runner, which is this bike's contemporary with normal suspension, and I fit on it. It just fit me perfectly. I was like, well, this is actually cut for big fellas. Same motor, didn't have the cantilever front suspension, but it had normal front forks. But to me, it was a much more rideable bike. Brakes worked great and everything was cool. So I did a runner. I did a Gilera Runner. But you could look at a runner from 20 feet away and just be like, that's fucking boring. There's nothing special about that. So you had to know what they were to care about them. So anyway, that's in the world of high-tech weird scooter shit. That's it. That's as far as we're going with that. Anyone else look at your homework today? Mm-hmm. Get ready with some of your homework. But Chris brought up something brilliant at the shop the other day.
No, it wasn't brilliant.
It was because it actually applies to your bike. So lead in with that because I kicked it and it hurt me.
Oh dear.
Talk about your Janus.
Oh,
Chris has an extremely tight Janus.
The J is silent.
Chris is tight.
Janusz.
Yeah.
So it's building up pressure.
Oh boy, is it ever.
So there you go. I let in.
You let in. Okay. So Chris came to pick his bike up from winter storage, where we had all physically confirmed that it had been on at least 3 Optimates.
Yep.
As it moved around my shop, it kept getting put on the Optimate.
Yep.
And when Chris came to pick his bike up, I turned the key on Chris's bike. and it did not start. It didn't even give me one full dugga. It kind of just went.
Said no.
It said, "Fuck you, man."
No.
And that kind of surprised me because it's never had a problem starting before.
Correct.
Okay, but it's been altered
A bit.
Okay, so of course, doing what you do when somebody's bike doesn't start on the electric starter, you think, "Oh, that's embarrassing," because I've had it in winter storage, and that should be starting right up. It should shoot lightning bolts out of its ass. It should be ready to go. And it didn't start. And so what we all do, if a bike has a kickstart lever, to the moon, right? Let's kick that bitch. I was wearing Crocs.
Kickstart Crocs. It said right there. Kickstart Crocs.
My DOT rated Crocs.
Moto Crocs.
Moto Crocs.
Moto Crocs.
It hurt so much.
We have not gotten the little big ones yet.
I was in pain. I mean, it hurt bad, but Chris was standing there, and I can't be a schlump in front of Chris. So I was like, well, I'm clearly using the choke the wrong way. So I tried the choke the other way, and I checked the fuel tap. I kicked it again. And I think I kicked it 7 or 8 times.
Yeah.
And man, it just did not want to go. It did not want to play along. And so eventually got that thing started. But I mean, it took heroic effort. I was thinking about going to get the wolf juice because I didn't know why it wouldn't start. But as it turns out, we know why it didn't start. Because your compression is almost double what it was from the factory.
Yeah.
But nobody thought to increase the power of the starter.
So it was like what, just the top or bottom? It wasn't in the place that could get it moving, or it's just never going to.
There is no decompression lever.
Oh, we can do no. I can do a thing for that. They sell spark plug decoms. We can get him one.
Chris talked to the guy who built it.
Oh.
And got him on the phone. So rather than throwing darts at a dartboard, Chris just straight up called the guy.
Hey, Devin.
And Chris pulled that shit out of his ass in my showroom. And I'm still limping.
With your Crocs.
And I was like, that motor feels a little spicy. And I was like, I kind of like sole of the foot judged it to be like 160 or 170 PSI. And then a lot of other things come to mind too. Like you should probably only run high octane fuel through that, right? That's a real thing. And that maybe a battery that fits in the battery holder of that vehicle might not be enough amperage to start it. It might be lithium battery
You
time.
need a little more CCA on that.
Yes,
stuff.
we do. So I think lithium batteries in Chris's future for sure, because you can get a lot more chooch for your chotch out of the same size box. So I think lithium batteries definitely in Chris's future.
However,
suggestions were made. So one of the best suggestions was the Meckelfresh trick of hitting the start button whilst you're hitting the kickstart lever. So doing them conjoined in synchronicity, which is brilliant because that amplifies the power of your foot and amplifies the power of the starter, which I wish I would have done the first 5 or 6 times I kicked it because fuck that thing. Oh my God, it hurt my foot. So that's a thing. And then you said, what about that cylinder pressure thing?
well, it's still building up pressure in the crank.
Yeah. The bottom end. How?
Well, you need a breather.
Well, this is my question. So, did you notice this when you took the dipstick out, or when did you?
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh.
So he's coming back into town to try to figure it out. But
Right.
when he did the adjustment last fall, he said, "Well, just call Janice and him, send you another PVC
PCV
or
valve.
PCV valve."
Yeah,
Yeah. So they did, and I put it on, and it didn't change anything.
Right.
So he didn't have any solutions back in November.
Right.
And so he texted me, 3 months ago. So I'm going to come back in town. I'm going to get this thing fixed.
Yeah,
So that's
right.
the other thing we were talking about. And your suggestion was a
Catch can. So
Road vent.
road venting.
do what Hurley riders do and just vent it to open air.
Okay.
So is there some kind of illegitimate extended warranty involved in this thing?
Chris says while taking a sip of his beer carefully.
No warranty.
Yeah, it's now.
It is what it is.
Yeah. I mean, according to the Magnuson law, anything that's not affected by the change to the top end would still be covered under warranty. But anything that's in the chain of the changes that were made is not part of the warranty. So if he loses electricity, that's under warranty.
Does that have screw-on valve cover caps, like Honda style?
You know, I think so, because that is a
I think
very
it does, yeah.
that is a horizontal Honda clone motor. I'm not going to lie.
Because that's what I did that to one of my CT90s. I just did I took the cap, drilled it out, put a barb fitting in it, and turned it into a breather hose. Put a breather hose off of it.
Consider
to give it some top end breathing.
Well, consider it's essentially like a Piranha 150.
It's not. It's not at all.
No, it's not a horizontal Honda.
No, it's
It's
vertical.
not what it is. It's vertical.
And I think that's a push rod.
It's a push rod vertical motor.
So it has a
Push rod.
a can cap on it.
Wait a minute.
It's a lift on.
You could probably you could drill a hole and put a vent, a breather in the top.
Yeah.
I like that. I like having a top end breather because then you get fresh air sucking in and out of there.
Right.
And
Yeah.
it helps cool your valves and stuff.
Yeah. So the Halcyon, the bike that Chris has, the Halcyon 250, one of the things that is so significant about the bike is this particular motor. This particular motor is a very well proven motor by a lot of different applications. I mean, a shit ton of applications. So they've got that motor really dialed in. I mean, it's in a lot of places. So I do feel like if there is an engine case breather on his bike, getting rid of the PCV valve entirely, getting rid of it entirely and literally just dumping it into a catch can is good enough for the racetrack.
The other thing they have is like dipstick tubes that have a breather.
Exactly.
Well, yeah, the Buddy does that.
So when you look at Chris's motor and you look at the anatomy of that thing, one of the things that is pretty significant about it is you can see that there's a hose coming up out of the engine cases, because this is a motor that we've seen on a bunch of different bikes. So it's I think it's a pretty easy thing for him to do a catch can, and it's not a dirty word. I mean, as long as you're vigilant enough to, fortnightly look at this thing and be like, oh, it's getting a little full. And you could either dump it out in a nice, environmentally safe way, or you could dump it back into your crankcase because that's where it came from.
You could get like a little old school medicine bottle and make it all period correct, man. Like have it hanging down.
This is like a 1920s board tracker. Find like an old, Jim Beam bottle or, a Jack Daniels bottle or something from the period, like old medicine
Those
show.
little laudanum bottles that you always
Laudanum
find.
bottle.
Oh, yeah.
Exactly. Right.
Do you know anybody that has airline bottles?
Airline bottles. I'm pretty sure we could find somebody that has airline bottles, Chris. But I really do feel like that this particular this particular engine, it almost lends itself to a catch can as opposed to trying to do a PCV. So the pollution control valve thing, many of the motorcycles will use a PCV valve as opposed to actually taking the air that's venting out of the crankcase and running a hose directly into your airbox. So for years and years and years, motorcycles would take a hose that ran out of the top of the crankcase, just below your cylinder, and they would run that directly into part of your air intake system.
And that's why it always had
your
that
air
little
filter.
clear nipple on the bottom. That's where you're supposed to change the thing. And nobody ever did.
And before that, they would run it out the rear fender and then off the rear tire.
I thought it would be more polite to just drain it onto your chain. So you have a self-lubricating
exactly.
chain. I think that's a more gentlemanly way to do it.
Yes.
I think if you're going to do that anyway, that you should do it in a very conscientious manner and lubricate your chain while you're doing it. But a catch cam wouldn't hurt this thing. And I do agree that John's on the money when you talk about like doing a laudanum bottle or some cool beveled glass vintage 1920s bottle.
Actually, to be fair, the drink.
God damn it, Tom. Wait. Okay, go ahead. I paid my tax.
The bullet rye bottle is almost done. We could put a little bit of leather on that, like a strap.
I'm hoping that we'll not need something more than 6 ounces.
Yeah.
You don't want a quart bottle.
Nah, if you lose that much oil, you get a problem.
No, I mean, like
Or it's an HP4.
racing a Honda, like a Honda CB350 kind of thing. I would have like an anti-seize compound bottle. What are those, like 4 ounces, 6 ounces? So I'd have one of those on there, and I would not have to. I mean, like every 10th race, I'd have to dump it out. So
Dan, you should have told me.
they don't put out too much. So I think that you're pretty good with that. But clearly, whether it's not wet sumping. And so what wet sumping is wet sumping is when you get an actual circuit going of pressure in the crankcase that is taking your engine oil and pumping it up into either your air box or through a pollution control valve, right? And a pollution control valve.
That's usually after your crankcase fills up with gasoline.
Exactly.
Like if you leave your petcock all winter long and it drains into your motor.
Yep.
Then that first time you start it, and you're like, what the fuck? There's a gas oil going everywhere.
Right.
And you can't start it because it's hydro-locked.
Exactly.
And suddenly it's a Stella.
Yeah. I really, really want to stress that in a lot of these older motorcycles where people don't turn their fuel taps off, and if you don't turn your fuel tap off, it takes very little dirt or contamination to block a float needle from seating.
Well, and sometime in the, 1979, they started building carbs that didn't have an overflow on them. What the fuck? So where's the gas going to go?
Into your motor.
Into your motor. And it's going to leak past your rings and it's going to fill your motor up.
And that's true. And that's every 80s bike. Yeah. I'd much rather see the gasoline dripping on the ground than filling up my fucking crankcase.
That's how you know you're supposed to turn your petcock off.
Right. Exactly.
But they're
It
vacuum.
smells like gas. I've
But
got a
they're
puddle of gas.
vacuum.
Oh, turn your petcock off.
They're vacuum operated. They shouldn't be leaking.
Well, we had to do a recall on, I
better
think,
than
I know.
I think we had to do a recall on every single Bajaj where we had to change the float bowls because the float bowls all had overflows. Because for the Indian market, they're okay with that. So in the float bowl was a nice brass tube. And when the float bowl would get too full, the gas would go over into the brass tube and go out onto the ground. Okay, no problem. It actually cleans your motor. It's delightful.
You don't get to shoot me, Dan. I'm
He's going to shoot you.
still fucking wearing this shit.
Yeah, from the last
It's
time.
on.
So I think on your
It's
bike,
live. Trigger discipline.
Down is on.
and I would argue that it's got a safety.
It's got a safety?
It's got a safety.
Pull hard.
Oh, you got to disable that.
Oh, it's got a pretty hard pull.
Oh, it does. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it uses the
Needs a lighter spring.
double action only.
That's not too bad if you put it in your mouth.
Come on, get the last out of there, John.
It's gonna blast your tonsils
Oh,
off.
I'm good.
Yeah. So if you've got an old motorcycle and if you're having this problem, you pull the dipstick and you got this air pressure there. Yeah, it's a real thing. Motorcycles that won't hot start. So if you've got an old bike and it's a real bitch and it won't hot start, that could be because everything's trying to leave the engine as opposed to letting anything in. And that would be solved by venting your crankcase using something as simple as take the hose where it goes into the PCV valve or goes into your airbox, cut it, and redirect that into a catch can. And that will solve a lot of your problems.
You should make it come through one of those squeezy chicken things. Like the
so that every time it bleeds air pressure out, it squawks.
Yeah.
Yes,
That's
please.
hilarious. Just take apart an animal squeaky toy and then put that over the end of the hose.
You've never seen
where the PCV valve
You've
was.
never seen the squeezy rubber chicken exhaust thing?
Oh, I've seen that.
Oh yeah,
but this is
what
for
they're
the,
talking about.
Yeah, but have you seen the fleshlight one where it just goes?
What do you mean? We all have those.
It hurts me to look at that. But doing it on the piece, doing it on the, because a pollution control valve. For people who don't know what that is, it's just a one-way valve. So the idea is it breathes in but it doesn't breathe out. So it will bring fresh, clean outside air into your crankcase, dirty, nasty outside air into your crankcase. But it will, when it's trying to spit back out. So Chris, what's happening is your motor definitely wants to bleed pressure. Your motor has been enhanced to the point where it would like to lose some of that excessive crankcase pressure, because as your oil heats up, as everything expands, the crankcase pressure is going up and up and up. But your pollution control valve is saying, I will allow air to come into this engine, but I will not allow any oil vapor to go out because owls might fall from the trees or EPA would be angry or whatever.
Well, the other thing is this. I mean, when you're building up a lot of crankcase pressure, usually it's because there's blow by past the rings, and maybe your motor's starting to blow up. I know you're. I mean, did you actually check the compression on it, or were you just doing the heel, like how hard it took to kick?
Oh, I think that
maybe it got tight or something like that.
No, I think due to it runs great. I think that due to the ferocity of the cylinder chosen for the job, the ferocity for the piston chosen for the job, that his motor has gone from utilitarian Chinese to right now. I don't think Lafon would have approved of this for the longevity and low octane world that the motor was designed to operate in. You know, when they built those motors, and they probably built, 50,000 of them in the second week that year. Right. They went into everything, probably into, this or that tractor or this or that garden implement or this or that motorcycle. Nobody ever said, oh, we're going to wring the tits off of this thing. Right. So it's probably a pretty understressed.
Yeah, like
250,
30,000 or 3,000 RPMs all day long, like
right. Indian application, Chinese application. Yeah. But when somebody goes, I know that some people in some cultures are putting this much compression into it.
I'm not buying it. I'm not buying that the Chinese and Indians are not rigging the tits off of these motors I mean, they are. Of course they are.
I think that
the subculture, definitely, like the kids and stuff. Yeah,
there's people who just rape the shit out of it. I'm sure, just like people who drive their cars. Some people drive it nice, and they.
Do you remember those Royal Enfields that we worked on, where they had built hundreds of thousands of them and sold them in India with not a single problem, and then Americans got their hands on them and all kinds of problems?
Yeah,
that's
what they're not doing is what we're doing. Driving the brand new bike home from Goshen, Indiana, on the highway at whatever speed you decided to go,
62
for umpteen hours.
That's how you break a good bike.
I guarantee in India and stuff, they're thrashing them when they're in traffic. They're giving it all it's got, but only but they're shifting gears. And they're not just taking it out on the highway and saying,
I mean, Americans have always done the what's the rev limiter? What's the rev limiter set at? It doesn't have a rev limiter.
It has valve float.
It has valve float. Exactly.
When I bought that gray market Bajaj Legend, what I was told is you start out in first, and you go from first gear and you shift immediately into fourth.
Yeah, I mean,
the second and third do not exist.
The riding with Indian people and seeing the way that they use the bikes.
Yeah.
Their shifting prowess, in my opinion, because they've been riding these particular types of bikes, small bikes under 200 cc's, in terribly hard traffic, in terribly bad roads, with 5 or 6 people on the bike, right? Their clutch control and gear shift technique is precise.
Oh, yeah.
To the point where a clutch cable is really not necessary. They're just like, and they're in fourth gear by about 13 miles an hour.
Yep. Oh no, it's a thing.
So cool.
It is a thing.
But they're getting 120 miles per gallon.
Now, I will say this. An Indian man told me how to start my bike properly. I had my Cheetah. He said, look, y'all doing it wrong. He says, you have to tip it over towards the spare tire.
You lean it to the spare tire. Yep.
Flood it just a little bit, bring it back, kick it. It'll start right up on the second kick. And you know what? Every time, second kick.
Leaning a bike, so
It's tickling it.
you're tickling it. That is exactly
Absolutely.
right.
Absolutely.
If you're driving,
The Indian tickler.
Absolutely. The Indian
Not to be
tickler.
not to be confused with the French tickler or the Cleveland tickler.
You know what?
if you want to richen the bike out, like if you want to start it easy, lean it to the left and start it.
Yep.
Which puts the Kickstarter very, very high.
Yep.
So when I learned if you're sitting on the bike and you want to start it while sitting on the bike, not everyone can do this. You have to have long legs. Is you lean the bike way to the left. So you lean the bike all the way to the left and give it a boot and it starts right up.
Yep.
But if you flooded the fucker and your fuel tap's shot anyway and it's drilled on the open position, just lean the son of a bitch hard to the right.
Yep.
Lean it hard to the right and keep kicking it because then you'll run it out of gas pretty early. Okay. Anybody like to talk about the topic I came up with why are so many people crashing and dying? Has anyone done any looking into this?
No, but I don't need to.
So
It's called no helmet.
Yeah.
I mean, if you wear a helmet, you're probably not going to die.
Dude, everywhere.
Your whole body can be fucked up, but you probably aren't going to die if you wear a helmet.
Everybody
if you don't wear a
today-
helmet, you're probably going to die.
I was going to say something on the way here. So I came, out from my house. I passed like about 75,000 people on motorcycles because it was warm today.
Right.
And maybe 2% had helmets on.
and they all had Sportsters and they all had ape hangers.
No, most of these guys were on baggers, like the bigger bikes, men and women. And I mean, like husband and wife.
Yeah.
Like younger. So they probably have kids at home and they're both on a bike together with no helmet on.
Right.
Geniuses.
But
You know-
you're missing half the equation. It's no helmet plus distracted drivers.
Yeah, that's
equals
true.
a lot
Yeah.
of deaths.
Well, they did just pass a law in Ohio where if you actually have a phone in the front of your car, they shoot you by the side of the road. So
It's
That's
yeah.
an exaggeration. That,
it might be.
me
It could
exaggerate?
be. It could be. It turns out it's a really, really weird thing, but did you guys look into the numbers? Because it's the actual number change from 2021 to 2022 is not a sustainable number growth. Because if somebody says, okay, well, last year was a really, really bad year, fatalities went up 3%. You're like, wow, 3%, that's a lot.
Yeah.
Because in 10 years, 3% could equal 30%. And that's a lot, right?
Mm-hmm.
But last year, deaths went up.
nobody left to buy bikes.
That's also true. But last year, it went up 17% in 1 year.
Right, but then there was because there was a rager of people buying bikes after COVID.
Bingo.
So a flood of new inexperienced riders
And
that whole nihilism that came with COVID, where I'm riding like it could be my last day on Earth. So everybody just kind of gone ape shit.
one of the biggest problems I have always had is that if you look at Europe, you have a stepped licensing program where you have to go do training after 125. Any 16-year-old can buy a Hayabusa. Period. Now, I'm not saying they do. Even if you buy a bagger or a Dyna or something big that is overpowered, you're immediately stepping from I don't know anything to I am overpowering myself in this bike I cannot control.
But they limit a lot of it the only American way we know how. They cost more money. So like the insurance company, 16-year-old kid can buy a Hayabusa, but it's $4,000 a month to insure it.
If you pay for insurance. Look, I lived in New Orleans. I know exactly what it means to avoid every legitimate means of control, such as insurance. You don't even have to have a license plate.
In 10 years, maybe 5 years, if you've got money,
Yeah.
you're buying an extraordinarily powerful Harley bagger, more power than a Yamaha R1.
Yeah.
In the form of a sled, right? So this is something that it you watch the videos and you see how ridiculously these things accelerate. Yeah. And 12 o'clock wheelies all day long on a bagger.
We'll dig into the numbers first. Was there any? I mean, you looked at the numbers. I didn't do my homework well.
Yeah. So,
but is there any indication of like the types of bikes that are having
Going
more crash?
down?
it is
I mean, who's dying here?
right. So it turns
Is there
out
an age group? Is there a what's the demographic?
it's the demographic that we're in.
Us.
So look to your left and to your right, because that is the fastest increase.
The age group?
the age group.
So all the young guys are dying.
So it's not young guys.
It's not. So historically speaking,
it's guys that are middle aged that are going into their I should buy a motorcycle before motorcycle or convertible.
so John, you got a big piece of it earlier.
Dang it.
When you said it's COVID and stimulus money,
Yep.
and when you say, remember, what do we have happen in the shop a lot? When was the last time you had a motorcycle, sir? Well, my kids, when my kids were born, I gave it up because I wanted to be a responsible dad. And so, what was your last bike you had? Well, I had an '86 Interceptor. Well, what was it? Oh, it was like a 750 or a 700 or something. Well, what do you want now? Oh, well, I'm older now. I think I'll take the Milwaukee 8. And I'll take the big, because I go places and I buy things. I have disposable income.
I want a big, comfy, safe bike.
Exactly. And I have to take my CPAP machine with me.
I do.
If you sleep overnight.
There was a couple that came in. There was a couple that came in, and he was what? And he had two. They had 2 kids. They were all over every bike in the showroom. Great kids. They were like not obscene kids.
No, the kids were great.
They were
Yeah,
really
they're
good
great.
kids.
Yeah.
And he had always wanted a Vespa.
Yeah.
Like that was his whole
whole life. He wanted a Vespa.
Was,
Yeah.
I know he was Caribbean, Puerto Rico.
Puerto Rican. Okay. He was Puerto Rican.
Always wanted a Vespa, and he was in his 40s.
And he had the money now to buy one.
Yeah, and he finally had the money. He was buying the thing, and he and his wife were sitting there, and which one do you want? What color do you want? Everything else.
That fatality range that
And
we knew
This is
about
the thing I always worry about.
it's not where it used to be. Yeah. It used to be the reason the statistic exists for every study is like young men under 25 shouldn't own motorcycles that have all of the things that the graduated licensing system was designed to help eliminate don't affect these guys who are dying. And these guys who are dying are the guys that have had a motorcycle endorsement since 84. Mm-hmm. They've had a motorcycle endorsement that they've never retested. They've never had to because every time they go get a license, they get it renewed. But the fatalities that are happening are not, they're alcohol related. Right. A disturbing number. And that has gone way the fuck up.
Whiskey throttle.
Way the fuck up. Well, now, if you haven't ridden a motorcycle in 24 years or 20 years, is a 900-pound motorcycle with 180 pounds-feet of torque a good idea?
No.
No. But do you have the capital to buy it?
Yeah, absolutely.
Not only that, but like a lot of these guys, the machismo factor, all their buddies, you can't show up with the fucking 500cc bike.
Right
What are
now,
you, some kind of a fucking pussy?
I'm a pussy.
yeah,
I know we all are, but I'm saying normal guys.
We get excited about 400cc 4-cylinders.
I mean, looking at
I had a pretty good wilding night with some of my partners back in the day, and I was riding the KLR 650, and they were riding. The one had the M109, which is a big power metric power cruiser.
Oh, God.
The other one's riding a Harley Davidson and whatever, and there was a 100-mile-an-hour police chase with the 3 of us on the shoreway. And I smoked them on the KL. I'm like, they can't keep up with me on the KL. I was like, they're like, man, you're really fast. That bike is amazing. I'm like, you're fucking slow and you can't ride those big bikes.
And it's a
and then we came flying down Lorraine Avenue or down 150th. And then I stopped at the stoplight and 2 bikes went sliding past me through the red light.
They weren't expecting stopping.
Like, these guys are going to kill themselves.
Yeah, they are.
Trying to keep up with me.
I love how
Drunk me.
I stopped for the stoplight.
I stopped at the stoplight.
I'm so lucky you didn't get killed just then.
Like, look at your experience
And
level
then
in this room.
both of them went sliding past me, nailed the rear brake, didn't touch the front brake.
No.
Oh, yeah.
I'm like, you got 2 sets of brakes, boys.
I mean, look at the experience level.
That ended with one guy's bagger laying on its side and me pulling spark plugs off, wires off.
Oh, God.
Yeah.
Really?
John's really good at that. He's done that to me so many times.
I also like that whole John wasn't sober.
Yeah.
But John was soberer.
Yeah,
Sober.
I wasn't the one who did the Irish goodbye and tried to get on my bike and went. I was looking out through the door and I just saw. I'm like, Paul, I think Mike docked his bike. Let's go check him out. And he's like trying to get it up, and we help. And then he tries to start. I'm like, no, go back, just come on back in, sit down. Nope. He was riding it home.
Okay, so
And then we convinced him that the tip sensor had gone off.
oh, that's
And
genius.
so it wouldn't start.
It won't
because
start.
It's got
Because the tip sensor, it's fuel
probably got to
injected.
get reset by the
dealership.
Yeah.
You're gonna have to send a truck for that one, John. Man, that's what bothered me the more that I looked into this report, because there hasn't been a really good a really good study since the Virginia report about 5 years ago. We talked about that, and we talked about how the vast majority of motorcycle accidents did involve lack of safety equipment, and that we had kind of been believing a false rumor. The Virginia study proved that it's not the other guy. Remember, we've heard people say that, you got to be careful. It's always the other guy. Sorry, good. It's never the other guy. It's almost never the other guy. It's usually you. When it comes to fatalities, in a disturbing percentage of the time, it's excessive speed for the conditions, alcohol, and no safety equipment.
Can I add an angle?
Please do.
All right. So over the last 20 years, I've definitely changed how I ride. And I'm not talking about like, the wheelie thing, whatever. I'm saying
I was
like,
going to say, you were in the Star Boys.
yeah, no, I did ride it for life. Anyways, but what I'm saying is that like over like the last 15 years of like whatever, 20 years of me riding like a normal human being, I've changed. I went from like kind of like being docile to like just kind of flowing with traffic and doing stuff. But then as cell phone use and stuff has increased, my riding styles change where if I get in a pocket of people, I'm out. I'm going to go faster.
Militant defensive.
Yes, 100% defensive.
Dan, I've watched Dan ride. He knows that he has bad hearing.
Right.
You can see the way he operates. He never has a blind spot. When
I go past someone, I go past fast.
he fucking goes past people, even when we're riding with other bikes.
Right. Yeah. No.
And so it's funny when you watch him ride, especially in a group, because he will keep his like 4 o'clock and his 7 o'clock empty. Like, he really watches those parts of.
Well, that's when we ride. We do
around
good.
him.
We stay staggered so you can get the fuck out.
Yeah.
But so here's my point. So do you think that some of the guys that are our age that maybe, are just casual riders, haven't changed their style of riding? And so as the cell phone use and all the distractive driver stuff increase, if you're still riding just kind of like doot-de-doot-de-doo, that's a problem.
That's true.
So I wonder if like that didn't have a little something more to do with it than.
I like your point though. It's got the horsepower of a sport bike, but it's not a sport bike.
It's not a sport
It doesn't have the handling and the braking and all that. So it's like,
It's got brute.
it'll take you right up to 150 mile an hour until you hit a tight curve.
Did they have a percentage for how big the front wheels of the baggers were? Just asking.
Yeah, you're not wrong there.
Yeah, that's science.
Let's see, spinning,
rotational mass, gyroscopic
turn
force,
it.
Gyroscopic.
That doesn't mean anything.
Still got a 230 millimeter rotor, but you got a 9,000 millimeter wheel.
Right.
Oh, sorry. Can't affect a change
How
on that
fast
mass
is
real
that going
quick.
to turn? Right.
Also not. It's a penny farthing. That's what you've done. You put a 36-inch wheel on the front of your fucking Harley. It's now a penny farthing. Just put a 10-inch wheel on the back and own it.
Dude, instead of 1%ers, they're going to just have the cent sign.
It will literally be a cent sign. Oh, penny farthing. Is that your penny farthing? Yeah. So anyway, not to get lost in that, but to talk about being more safe, to talk about what you can do to protect yourself. And I always thought the biggest thing about when you get to read a statistic is then immediately looking at the points in the statistic where you could differentiate yourself. So don't be, they say if everyone's zagging, fucking zig, motherfucker, right? Don't be where the bastards are. Be in a good observation point to watch them crash. Why not?
No, yeah.
Right? Well, I mean, think about it.
Oh, yeah.
If you've ever been riding on a country road, or the Dragon is my perfect lesson for how to watch mistakes turn into pandemics.
Yep.
Would be something like a Dragon, where you see 17 people make it through that turn by Killboy's 37th camera location.
Yeah.
And he's only there for one reason, because motherfuckers crash there. He's not there because it's a great angle. He's there because motherfuckers crash there. So 17 people make it through. Guy 18 blows it. Guy 19, 20, 21, and 22, and 23 will follow that sumbitch in.
Oh, yeah.
Just on target fixation.
Yep.
Just because they're not looking where we should be looking, just because they're looking kind of the poor soul that went in.
People that are scared of going and doing things, like when we go down when we went on our trip a couple weeks ago, the first day or two, you know, like you're kind of like, whoa. Then you get used to it. But it really, people can tell you to look ahead all you want, right? Yeah. But when you're on a 90-degree turn on a banked angle and you're looking around, it physically like the further you look out, the better you ride. It's insane how much like you really have to look so far in front of yourself to actually ride fast, do that kind of stuff. It's insane.
What? I mean, the amount of brain fuckery that you have to do when you're taking a riding school.
Yeah.
And you're in a group and you're trying to figure out in the morning part of a riding school, they're trying to figure out where you are in the class. They're trying to kind of know where they're going to move you, which group are you going to be in. And it's very hard on a new track and an environment that's kind of new to you to not get in that wagon train mentality where you're just amplifying the mistakes of the guy in front of you.
Yeah.
And then to break away from that and then force your head, like to overpower your eyeballs and physically crane your neck deeper, deeper, deeper into the turn and start saying, there's nothing I can do about 40 feet in front of my tire. That's already happened. Mm-hmm. I need to be looking at 70 feet in front of my tire or 180 feet in front of my tire.
What's crazy is when you get it right.
Yeah.
And everything starts to flow, that's when it's fucking awesome, man. That's when like you go so much faster than you think you can.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
you brake less than you think you need to. It's, I don't know, man. It's a really cool feeling when you get it
And then
right.
some asshole in a Camry pulls out in front of you.
Well, there's
also too the factor of riding with other people and stuff. Like, because we were riding down there, and mostly I was following you. I led a little bit, but not really through some of the hard stuff.
Yeah.
So I maybe kind of had the privilege of being able to watch somebody, but I don't know. Was that a good thing to be able to pace my, like having Cinch in front of me and watching when he braked or not? Like how would I have ridden it if I was riding by myself?
That's a brilliant question because the second rider, so in any group, right? Doesn't matter what it is, but we'll use motorcycles for an example. You will get your best lap times ever following, right? Having a recon, having a guy in front of you, because that forces your target fixation.
It makes me watch him.
It drags your eyeballs forward. And if it drags your eyeballs forward, your point of reference is going to be better than it would be if you were alone.
And it gives you the confidence too, because if you go
because he made it
on some of those blind things, if you see my helmet go straight and not go this way,
well, yeah, that's not insignificant.
And you know what?
Yeah.
And look at the telephone poles. So if you're on a road that has telephone poles and you see a hump, a blind curve on a hump, look up.
Yeah.
If the telephone poles go left, you know which way the road's going.
Oh, yeah.
If the telephone poles go right, you know which way the road's
Well,
going.
it was something you said too. I mean, look at the road signs.
Look at the road signs.
When it says 20 mile an hour, you can go about 60 mile an hour and it's going to be to the right.
Any
Depending on the state.
any Appalachian area,
Yeah.
West Virginia, Tennessee,
A
Kentucky.
Tennessee 30
Yep.
is 33.
It's 33. So if you see
unless you grew up there, then it's 75.
North Carolina 30 is damn near 70.
Appalachian arrows, you see those arrows in the turn, they mean it.
And look at the road data too. There's a lot of information you can pick up off the road. But going back to that whole first or second thing, if you find somebody you like riding with, it, you trust riding and somebody that's a decent rider, it's great to be able to take some time and to enjoy yourself and just drop back into that second or third position and just kind of like, oh, okay, this is cool. Now the pressure's off of me now. Yeah. And then if your lead riders, if your lead rider's bonkers, you just let the guy go, man. You're all going to get there eventually. So just chill the fuck out.
I mean, but that's also hard because it's kind of fun to push yourself. Like it's fun to ride with guys faster than you to try to learn more.
Oh, yeah.
But you got to know when to say, okay, I can't hang with that.
I can't compete with the locals. So that's a
You always
fucking
got to hold back for
one.
those decreasing radius ones. Like
you
there's
know-
always that one. It's like
The-
you go into it and you're like, whoa, oh, shit.
Push hard, push.
Well, the fastest guy on the Dragon is like he rides a 250 motard.
There's two guys that are fast on the Dragon. The two fastest guys I've ever known on the Dragon. One guy's riding a Yamaha RD80.
Yeah.
No shit.
Yeah.
And the other guy's riding a Goldwing.
Yeah.
So the two guys that I've ridden with that were both deceptively fast. The one guy's riding a Goldwing and not afraid to grind everything off of it. And the other guy's riding an RD80 who never, ever backs off the throttle.
You don't have to lift.
It just goes.
One of the scariest things when we were riding the 555 a couple years ago.
Yeah.
I had my Super Tenere at the time, so I was pushing that pig through there, and it wasn't going very fast. But I'm in an 80-degree turn, and to my inside, with him and his wife on a fully bagged out Goldwing, playing a radio with the gyroscopic drink holder leaned over, just passes me on the inside of this.
Was the white Goldwing?
It was a white Goldwing.
That's Steve Kuykendall.
That was him.
Yeah, he's fun. That guy is sick, man.
He was in his day. He was testing tires for Metzler down there.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, they were paying for his motorcycles.
That's the trick. Is like the guys.
I don't feel bad now.
The guys that can do it, they have been doing this for years.
Now back to fatalities.
Yeah.
Oh God.
Because it is important. I am fucking guilty. And I am totally guilty of not wearing the helmet. And if you see me riding around the shop and doing all the things I do, I'm not wearing a helmet. And if you see me cruising to work and I'm on my Harley, I'm probably not wearing a helmet. And I do not have, after reading the report and after looking at the numbers, I do not have any possible reason for why I can justify it. I don't. I just don't.
You
I
have
to
like
admit
40 helmets.
Yes, I do. And a lot of them are really cool. And I don't have a good excuse for it. I don't. I do admit that I do love the visceral experience of having the sun on my face and the wind through what's left of my hair. But
maybe we have to revolutionize the helmet. We have to make the helmet for people who don't want to wear a helmet, but it's still a helmet. And they feel like they're not wearing a helmet and they feel still just as cool as not wearing a helmet.
It's a colander.
But they have a helmet.
There's
spaghetti stringer.
I mean, it used to be the half helmet. You could get away with having a half helmet. Or what was it? The Kaiser Wilhelm chrome military helmet.
The pickle spike. Yeah.
The pudding bowl was so hot for like 2 minutes.
Well, we had a young lady come into the shop the other day and she brought with her helmet to be replaced. And it was sobering because she had to get off at probably 30 to 35 miles an hour. And the helmet she was wearing was an LS2 modular. And everything from her eyebrows to the jaw of the helmet on the entire area just right of her nose looked like 80 grit sandpaper.
Yep.
Hard against the wheel. So she happened to low side into a high side. We all, if you guys know, that's where the back tire loses traction. And you feel the back tire losing traction. So you immediately throw the handlebars to steer into the skid. The rubber does what it does, and that is it no longer gives up its traction package and it finds it again. As your inertia slows down and as your wheel speed slows down, your tires that had lost the traction get it back. And it acts as a catapult. And it slings you into the air. And you usually come down on your shoulder and your head. And you always break your collarbone almost every time I've ever done it. Yep. Well, what she had done is she broke her collarbone and she did almost a perfect face plant into the ground from a 30 mile an hour turn, 30 mile an hour get off. But the damage to her helmet was so isolated to just the visor and the jaw piece.
Yep.
The entire rest of the helmet, if you would have taken off the modular jaw piece of the helmet was completely serviceable. You wouldn't have even thought there was anything wrong with it. But it went from being pristine around her entire head area into total devastation in the parts of her face that would not have been covered by a 3/4 helmet.
Right.
This is one of those tragic situations where the person is wearing a 3/4 or a shorty and suffers a horribly disfiguring incident.
Which is why you don't wear.
But they wouldn't die because the helmet is still covering the important part, which is their brain and their medulla oblongata and everything like that.
To
You're
John's
right, they
point,
wouldn't die. It wouldn't die. It wouldn't be a fatality. It wouldn't be a fatality.
The people that don't wear helmets like that, I was working on the dead guy Dodge. I was underneath it, and I was looking for something, and I was kind of resting on the slidey dolly thing, or what do you call it, the creeper, you know. And I thought I slid my body, and I thought that the head pad was underneath me, but it was over there.
Yeah.
So my head fell 2 inches, maybe, to the cement.
Yeah.
Dude, I saw birds, the bell sound for like 5 minutes. And that was a
Concrete's hard.
2-inch, 0 mile an hour thing, you know? Like, so a 30 mile an hour into it. I mean, I can't even imagine how bad that would feel.
And so when we acknowledge this, okay, we have to look in the mirror and say, we can't blame the 25-year-old guys anymore, because the 25-year-old guys, their numbers have actually been getting better. One of my customers in the shop said the reason that has shifted, he's a paramedic, and he said the reason he feels that the number has shifted is that the young people are risk averse. And so they're not taking the chances they used to. They're not engaging in the gladiator sport that we grew up doing. It's true. When you think about when we were children and we grew up, we were encouraged to behave in these rather risky endeavors, right? Jumping our bicycles, our 20-inch, Schwinn high-rise bicycles.
How many pictures of moms standing there watching their kid jump garbage cans, smiling?
Game on.
Yeah, right.
And nobody even invented an e-pad yet.
No.
Right? So that whole idea... there was no such thing as a bicycle helmet when I was a child. You couldn't look it up. There was no product that was called a bicycle helmet. It didn't exist.
You might be wearing your baseball helmet on the way to practice, maybe.
I was going to say, there were baseball helmets, there were football helmets, and there was a brand new thing called a skateboarding helmet, which was just a hockey helmet with the screen taken off.
Right.
Right? Yeah. That's all existed. Free-former, it said right on the front. And that was it. And then some of the kids on the bus had those.
It's ironic how much I have for just skating.
But today,
Yeah.
children do not engage in that behavior.
No.
I mean, before I got on a motorcycle,
Right.
I spent years riding my Huffy Thunder Road
Right.
over every terrain, jumping it off of curbs, skidding, sliding, riding it in the wintertime, going through mud, doing everything I could. I sent it through the air. I got 5 stitches in my chin before I ever touched a motorcycle.
Oh, me too.
I did everything you could do on a bicycle. And then I did a lot of what you could do on a dirt bike for a long time.
Absolutely.
Wrecked that a million times before I ever got on a street bike. You know what I mean? They don't do that. So I'm happy to be able to teach Piper out there at the compound. She's already had one little wreck. She went in a big hole and flipped over the bars once. That was good.
Oh, that's good.
I mean, it was.
Has she figured out the jump yet?
I did get her to not jump it, but she went over.
She went over it.
She'll go over.
That's good. Yeah, getting over it's a good step.
Phase 2 will be going down over the hill, down by the creek.
Vicious.
That's a whole area now.
Oh, that's trials, right?
Oh, really?
Oh yeah, there's some hill climbs and stuff.
Oh no, there's all kinds of
bringing
evil
the
shit
bike.
over
clearing
there.
that shit out. I mean,
Oh,
But
dude,
Piper,
let's go
come
ride.
on, yeah.
yeah, she's gone through the ditch and stuff, through the wash and stuff like that.
Well, that's great.
Yeah.
Oh, but when you compare that to like my niece or my nephew and stuff like that, they were never out there. Let's go crash our bikes. Nobody gave them a Sears All Pro and said, off you fuck, right?
She got the scooter stuck and had the power. I'm like, well, give it the beans, push with your feet. Slid it, went sideways. Oh, okay. She got the feel.
And check it out. I lived. And I think that's what Mid-Ohio does for a lot of people is teaches you about that little bit of survivalness at a young age. And so I never begrudge the 8-year-old kids that are around there, bouncing off of us.
They're
I
getting
think
their
that's a
best
good
training
thing.
possible.
I do agree.
Right.
I think it's a really good thing to let them have at it.
If you hit them with a Toyota Camry, it makes it even better.
Well, that's what I would concern myself with over these numbers that have dramatically gone up. The biggest thing that I would say is there's definitely. Do you remember kind of in the 80s when every doctor went out and bought a Corvette and a Rockwell Commander airplane? So and Porsches and Corvettes and Rockwell Commander airplanes. This was like, according to Playboy magazine, these were the items that you needed to be a real man.
Cocaine's a hell of a drug.
And Sansabelt pants, right? So, and a sex romper, but in a pit group, with a round fireplace,
in the fireplace with the hood,
round fireplace. But the weird thing is like people said that for a while, Porsches became identified as like doctor and dentist killers,
Yeah.
and Corvettes kind of was the same thing. And Rockwell Commander airplanes kind of got a reputation too for being like the Porsche of the skies, but they killed an equal number of doctors and dentists.
And you know what's sad is a lot of those doctors and dentists that were very successful bought their kids Porsches. I woke up when I was a kid I think I was 14. I thought aliens were landing. It was 3 a.m. and the sky was lighting up like zzz. And
Was there a Porsche 928 in your front yard?
No, there was a 911 that a 17-year-old girl got for a graduation present.
Oh no!
And on North Boyden Road, one block from my mom's house, plowed the fucker straight into a telephone pole. When I got down there, the paramedics were there. And
How old was she?
17.
Okay.
Dad gave it to her. Dad, dentist, rich dentist, gave his daughter a 911 for graduation party present. They couldn't get to the kids because the power lines were dancing around the car.
Oh, that's not good.
So that's what was making the big thing. And so I was like, I'm this kid like, holy
and nobody had
shit.
taught her slow in, go out.
Yeah, right. No.
Yeah.
Here's a
They didn't
911.
teach her the Porsche rules.
It's safe. It has airbags.
Yeah. So
And
considering that,
Mikins been taught. I thought you do all your slowing down before you get into the curve. And once you get into the curve, you power out.
you can make your exit as majestic as you want once you've achieved it.
yeah.
Once you've earned your exit, my friend, make it spectacular. I want to see the front wheel up a little bit when you're exiting a curve.
Yeah.
Good, well done. That means you entered it well. Like racing, modern racing and stuff that, we have lived in a world that has changed dramatically. Motorcycles now perform so much better than they did before. And it doesn't cost you very much money to triple or double your horsepower in your motorcycle. Pretty easy to do. And bolt-on naughty bits, as my friend Sam calls them, bolt-on naughty bits have gone from being it makes it slightly louder to being it remaps the ignition to giving you 60 or 80% more horsepower. And all you had to do was order it on Amazon, undo 2 10-millimeter screws to take it off, put the new one on and plug it in. And all of a sudden, your motorcycle is now way fucking faster than its brakes were designed to stop.
Yeah.
And keep that in mind. You have increased the horsepower of your motorcycle by 40%. What did you do for your brakes, your suspension, and your training?
What do you think the percentage of people that modify their motors modify any of the things that you mentioned?
I used to actually tell one of my customers who bought a Hayabusa, which I don't recommend, that there's this triangle. He's like, why does my clutch slip?
Sorry.
You've improved the horsepower.
Right.
You've improved the driveline, which
all
is
a balancing act.
the dragster
Right.
swing arm.
Yeah.
You did not improve the clutch.
No.
So the clutch slips. Right.
You can chase your way around that the whole way. Sleepy,
It is a
Sleepy, what'd you think about that high performance exhaust on your TNT 135?
It was fun for a while.
Exactly.
I mean,
I noticed that thing on, what was that, on Facebook Marketplace? I saw
But he did not improve
I agree with what you're saying, Phil.
the duration of the fuel injection. So he did not increase his horsepower. He just increased his noise.
But there are also a lot of bikes
Yeah.
where, if you have dual piston twin shoes up front, it's way more than most like my Versys. You could give it twice the horsepower. It still has a lot of brakes.
Plenty of brake. Yeah.
People actually have a much better fighting chance today with what's rolling around out there. Even if they've dicked around and given it some more horsepower, it still has a lot better brakes than most of what I've ridden.
Does anybody here at the table own an inflatable piece of clothing that's not for fun? I was thinking about a way to word that because look, I've got some inflatable stuff at home, but it's mostly for fun.
Yeah.
Right. But
not yet. They're too expensive. I like the idea of.
you like the idea.
I do.
So
I'm sorry, MotoGP. These guys are going down at 190 miles an hour in a turn, and you can see as soon as they're in the air, their body goes. And they hit and they bounce and they get up and they walk and they're mad that their bike's broken.
as I get older, I'm more concerned about the strength of my neck. I'm more concerned that I have had crashes in my career where I did the thing. I remember, it wasn't a bad crash. I know what happened. I know that my bike and I went down. I know that we hit the ground. I know that I then took up my posture, whether I decided I was going to get big. You know,
Or
you
small.
get big.
Yeah.
It's like when you see a mountain lion, you get big.
Yeah.
And when you see a bear, you get small.
Right.
And so sometimes when you fall off the motorcycle, situation dictates that you get big. So you want to minimize your rolling and your tumbling. And you want to just hopefully go for a nice long slide. You know, use the slide to dissipate the energy so that you come to a stop before you go too far off the edge of the road or something like that. Because a lot of things they put by the side of the road are hard to hit. And then
And hard when you hit them.
that's what I'm saying. Yeah. So and then sometimes though, you might want to get in. So sometimes you might want to, if you're moving along pretty quickly, sometimes you might, if you can, you might want to make yourself small and try not to rip your arms off and things like that. And I've broken some bones and I've had those things happen. I've never experienced a real neck injury. I've had it where like for a week or two after the crash, I've been like, fuck. And I did break my collarbone twice, but I've never actually broken anything in my neck or gotten close to it. The last time I had to get off on a bike, I thought my head was going to come off my fucking shoulders. I mean, yeah, helmets are lighter now. They're a lot safer than they are. But I went down and I was wearing a decent, quality full face. And I honestly felt like I was in danger of a true neck injury. And that's what I love about these inflatable vests. What I thought was so cool is they fill the gap. Mm-hmm. So they're like, they're literally being the neck brace that you didn't leave the house wearing. But at the time of tragedy, the time of crash, you are now wearing a neck brace.
Well, and I think too, if you have the vest and a helmet, that's all your vital organs are fairly protected.
I agree.
It's going to help you. Like Chris is saying, like if you have an off on the side of the road, the guardrail's hard. But that vest, it supposedly absorbs enough that it won't break your back.
They all look kind of magic.
Some of the most severe injuries are you making contact with your bike. I can think of a few where if you're in the right kind of accidents, if a car stops in front of you and you ass end them, like the one guy, he actually literally his gas tank was smashed flat as he slid forward, pressed it down around the frame, and then the handlebars hit him square in the hips, broke both of his femurs as he flipped over the bars, And and Johnny Chrome, I mean, he didn't go down.
No.
He was hit from behind and broke his leg and stuff there's some
I mean, there's always going to be those accidents, but like a typical one where you go and you fall off, I think they're going to be beneficial, man.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, yes, but I mean, just wearing leathers though, even without wearing the right, just you know what I mean, even or a Cordura or something, and having some armor.
No, but think about it, as we get older and our bones get more brittle and stuff like that, having like something to absorb at least 50% of the blow of whatever you're falling or something, that has to change how bad the accident's going to be to your body.
Sure. Now, Climb has got a airbag vest.
I have a question. How are they triggered? I mean, like that's got to be very
Excellent
important.
question. Absolutely. Excellent
when do
question.
they go off?
Right.
What makes them go off?
So there's the type that runs on a tether, and there's the type that runs on an accelerometer.
Yep.
So you've got two different technologies out there right now. You've got tether based and you've got accelerometer based. And when they first came out, Helite was the company that kind of pioneered it, and they were tether based. So you had a cord that went from your jacket, your vest, to your handlebars of your motorcycle, and you had to jerk that son of a bitch. And if you jerked it 60 plus pounds of force, it would pop the CO2 canister, and very much like a life PFD, it would detonate and it would inflate rapidly around your body. And so those were $700 to $900 when they first came out. So not cheap, right? Not cheap by a long shot, but the price has come down. And so we're getting into that $400 range now. Now, Dionysi has their system is done with accelerometers. So the idea behind them using accelerometers is that you no longer have to concern yourself with the tether. And so getting rid of the tether, getting rid of that physical connection between you and the motorcycle, now it is just like a shock sensor that's built into your phone or something like that. When it notices that you're going to be going so fast and your change in velocity, your delta is so much that it will then decide to pop for you. Now, one of my concerns, and I was thinking about this, is are they repackable? So like after it pops, can I put this thing back into service myself, or do I need to be unprotected while I mail it back to the manufacturer?
I don't think that's price. I think the manufacturer wants it to be one and done.
Okay, yeah. And so different companies have approached it different ways. And I think that's something that you're going to have to look at that yourself. Speedy does it with a tether. Their vest is about $700. Alpine Stars does about $750. Different companies use different, I guess the right way to say it is different companies use different levels of technology when it comes to the vest itself. But the Dionysi one is kind of magical because one, the Dionysi, you do have to recharge every once in a while. So you plug it into a USB and charge it up. And then it's got a series of lights on it that indicate to you the health of the battery so that you're aware of it. But because it has Bluetooth communication with an app or something you're running on your phone, it does also give you a lot of data for your money. So you're getting a lot of stuff. You're getting a lot of information. If you're an information junkie, then you might like that. You might be like, oh, check out my stats from my ride, because that is an accelerometer that is on board with you anytime you go anywhere.
Right.
And it doesn't care. And that's the other thing too, is it doesn't care what piece of equipment on. You're like, it doesn't matter what motorcycle you're on. If you have your vest on and it's activated, phone or no phone, you come off this bike, it's going to activate. And it does appear to me to be kind of a fucking amazing idea.
How much is that one?
What, the Dionysi?
Yeah.
I'll pull it up for you. Yeah. But the
To see it.
yeah, the Dionysi one is, I think it might be at the moment, it might be kind of the coolest or tech rich version of it. And that comes in, you can buy the system. We'll pull that up first because the system is $1,000. Okay. Oh, but Sleepy, the system covers your entire goddamn body.
Oh, there's a jock strap.
This is what goes on under your leathers. Okay. And because it goes on under your leathers, this particular system, this is all of you. Okay. So this is the full Aquaman suit. And
That's crazy.
it is, isn't it? So there's the device, right, on that waistband. Yeah. And then you've got this entire area down here. And so this idea is going to give you protection for all of you. It's kind of cool. I mean, $1,000, right? So it's not cheap by any standards.
When you look at that, though, do they make them in like adult U.S. sizes?
I was going to say, do they make it in sizes for chunky boys?
Yeah. Right.
So there's what it looks like when it's popped. So we'll go up to that. So
How would that not, dude? If that's inside of like leathers that fit properly,
Right.
that's just going to compress you like a fucking. You're getting your blood check sleeve. You know what I mean? Like if those things went off,
Blood pressure cuff.
yeah, blood pressure. What did I say?
Who the fuck knows what you said?
it's going to be a full body tourniquet.
Yeah.
I suspect they're like airbags, though. They do
they are
do
airbags.
the pop, and it's only for
And then they go down
a minute, and then it loses it. And so by the time you recover from the accident, it will have lost pressure, and you'll be
Okay.
Right.
You've never get a blood pressure check that fast.
Can you just keep pumping it up, Doc?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Hold on. I'm getting close. Oh, 6 more strokes and I'll be done. You do a Carradine on yourself every time you crash. But that idea, that idea behind it is, I had to say Carradine as opposed to in excess because I wasn't sure about the room. So
I had a low side question.
yeah.
I mean, what are you? I mean, is there anything you're supposed to do if you low side, like jump on top of the bike? Like don't try to oversteer it. Don't
Kick the bike away.
to not throw you into a high side. Like no, it just so anything you do is you're going to end up in a
I
high
will
side.
give you my tip for low sides.
Just lay down. Stay down.
So this is my own technique, and I've only used it twice now to save my own ass. When you find yourself going into a low side, and you will know you're going into a low side because there won't be any doubt about you going into a low side. The only technique that I've learned, and I learned this on the Zero SRF, is to just look further down the road. So I read that in one of our training things, and somebody told me that in a training school, and I was like, okay, just look further down the road. That's one thing that you can do. And I was riding in conditions that I were like, I wonder if you could low side a 0. that was the thought that went through my head about 90 seconds before I had this experience. And the traction control on them is extremely sophisticated. And so I'm going to say that it was the traction control that did its job perfectly. And it wasn't me, but it could have been me. We don't know. When I felt the back of the bike scoot out, instead of doing what I would do, which is having my brain and my head automatically aim my head towards the point of impact, well, the future point of impact, right? What I did was instead was I did that whole thing like, no, motherfucker, look further down the road. And so I changed my target fixation further away. I looked further down the road. And I did not change my throttle position because normally you drop out of your throttle position and that reduces your wheel speed. You get your traction package back and it catapults you over the handlebars.
Yeah, and if you're already leaning over it,
Right.
and you're going down now
Yes.
because you've lost it. You know.
Yeah. So my idea was rather than changing my throttle position, maintain my throttle position, change my point of focus. And what happened was the bike did, I yawed a little bit. I backed it in, right? Accidentally. I'm not that good.
You Dan and Tino Rossi.
I did not. That was a stoner move right there, buddy. It was not. It was just simply I survived it. I didn't crash. So not crashing was pretty fucking cool. You know, not crashing was great. But to have the feeling that I was going to low side and then to not low side. However, riding in the dirt not long ago, when we were playing around on the bikes, I pushed the bike way too hard in Oberlin. And I pushed the bike way too hard in Oberlin, and my bike did what it happens. It sacrificed its traction package. And so when the bike began low siding, I had to remember, you dumb fucker, don't correct. Don't fucking correct. And what I did was I just took my target. I reassessed my target further down. I made my point of focus one pine tree over. And the bike went out from under me in a beautiful semicircle, and I fell on the ground. I slid for like 6 feet or 12 feet on my left leg. And then I managed to just kind of like stand up. And I stood up and I looked around, and Steve was the only one that saw it. So I totally got away with it. And I went and picked my bike up and off I fucked, right? So I think that the idea is Merritt uses the phrase, because Merritt's had a couple of low sides that turned into spectacular high sides, but she also got pretty good at low sides one year on the kart tracks because they're so tight. So, I mean, they're tight. You're 10 turns in 1 mile. It's pretty goddamn tight. Like if I ask any of you to do 10 turns in 1 mile, you're going to be like, that's a lot of turns.
Oh no, yeah, we did.
Yeah.
It.
So
Great.
10 turns in 1 mile is a lot of turns. And Merritt she said, don't ever turn a perfectly good low side into a high side. And that's a pretty decent way to think about it.
I mean, when you break it down, what's happening when you look out ahead is if you go to a low side, you're going to turn into it. That's what you're trying to save it by turning into it.
Yeah.
And that's when you catch and flip over. If
Right.
you look out ahead,
Yeah.
you're not going to oversteer into it.
Right.
That's trying to keep you from doing
But
it.
there are the other ones that you can't do anything. If you're sliding in a low slide and the tire bites and flips you up, there's nothing you can do
Well,
to do
and
that.
that's why once you hear metal, give up the fight.
Yeah, right. Let it
So
go.
once you hear metal, Chris is right. Get away from the bike. Push away from the bike. Once you hear metal, you're done. You can't do
Yeah,
anything
because
else
then let
at
it
that
high
point.
side all at once. As long as you're not attached to it, you're good.
As long as it's flat, it's not going to high side. It's going to slide. Unless a peg catches on a curb, you're probably okay.
That's what I said, or a tire.
Yeah,
Or something.
yeah, and that's a big deal. When you have a low side situation, your ass is 16 inches off the ground. Any one of us in here can fall 16 inches. But a high side, you could be falling from 9 or 10 feet out of the sky.
Oh yeah,
And nobody in here wants to fall 9 or 10
and
feet
probably
out of the sky.
upside down at that point.
Well, that's the point.
Yeah.
Problem is the way that our bodies are built tends to naturally, when we leave a motorcycle in that fashion, we don't come down feet first. Merritt pulled a Spider-Man one time, and she pulled a Spider-Man high side, and I got to see it happen. And she was in a competition where two bikes were rubbing up against each other, and two bikes were literally leaning, two riders were leaning on each other. And her bike gave up the traction package first. And so her bike went down into a low side. She was literally against the other rider going down into the crash. And then when the bike got to a certain point, whether she cocked the wheel or the wheel got cocked in the crash, the bike grabbed, traction package was restored. The bike trebucheted her, And Merritt went up into the air, and I saw her go up into the air, and I was like, oh, fuck, we're going to the hospital, right? Because I know I've been there, done that, right? That Dianuzi suit she's got is pretty good, but it's not that great. There were no airbags involved back then. But what she did is she pulled this ninja move where she spread her arms out, the little silver wings deployed, and then she landed on her feet.
Wow.
And she landed on her feet.
She went flying squirrel.
She did go flying squirrel. She spread her ass out. She spread her arms out, and the bike did its own thing. You know, the bike was fucked. A low side is going to cause you like $93 worth of damage. A high side is probably going to total the bike.
Yeah.
So that's another reason low sides are so nice. But Merritt she landed on her feet, and I mean she took a stumble. It wasn't like she did a Marvel superhero landing or anything.
Feet into a dive roll, into a kung fu pose.
She did a stumble. She did a stumble, made 3 or 4 steps, and then was looking around where the bike went. Because that's the other thing too, is you're like, where's my fucking bike?
Yeah.
But she did that. I was so impressed, and I kind of went past her because I didn't crash. So I was like, I went past her. I was like, fucking, I married her. That's pretty cool. I don't see anybody else's wife doing that. So I was like,
Yes, sir. That's my baby.
that's exactly it. I was like, well, too bad you got a DNF, but fuck it, it was worth it.
And then you plowed into Hodge.
Not that one, but she super fucked that bike up. But did you see on this inflatable suit that it actually has hip protectors?
Yeah.
Yes.
That's going to segue me into my next thing, the inflatable jeans.
Yeah.
Okay. Has anybody fallen down and hurt their hips?
Yeah, a lot. I only have one.
If you would have showed me this suit with the I told people today, I was like, inflatable pants.
Yeah.
It's a thing.
Yeah.
So you can buy inflatable pants now.
Well, I've had that since high school. I don't know.
The Reebok Airs.
Inflating my pants a little bit. Usually after the podcast.
Okay. So let's talk about that for a second, because I'm going to tell you, I think as I get older, my likelihood of cracking a hip in a relatively minor fall has gone way the fuck up. Because I know that I don't fall down as good. I mean, remember, I took Mina jiu-jitsu lessons for 20 goddamn years. I was really good at falling off of things. I used to jump out of airplanes, and I'm not good at it anymore. I suck at it.
I fell off a creeper and I thought I was going to end. I'm like, this is how it ends. I fucking fell 2 inches to my
spent
death.
37 seconds on a skateboard last year.
Bad idea.
That was it. 37 seconds. And I snowboard and I ski and stuff, but I'm 53 goddamn years old. I don't fall like I know what I'm doing anymore. I fall like this. I fall in all the worst ways. I used to fall go down a flight of stairs and pop up and be like, we cool, right?
Yeah.
I was painting it today, and I had to I was going to lay down on the floor and paint.
Yeah.
And I was like, I'm like, oh, I could. I was like, wait a second, I can't get up. I'm like, I normally would just be like, falling.
Are you talking about getting down or getting up?
Getting down?
So getting down.
Yeah, I was like, wait a second,
Dude, you couldn't even have let gravity have its way with you?
I gotta grab hold of the wall here and help myself get down on the ground.
Down is the easy one.
Yeah, well, I mean, you would think. That's what I'm like.
You would think.
I'm like, oh, my knee. Oh, my hand.
So all the normal parts of getting down on the ground are not so good.
Or more of a challenge.
Yeah. So when I saw this picture of this ridiculous Stay Puft Marshmallow Man, but I did look at it and went, oh, that makes a lot of sense.
No, it does.
He's still puffy.
Now it doesn't have the neck collar business. So clearly somebody's had a thought about that. Somebody's had a thought about that.
I mean, I like the bike bags, the bags on the Goldwing and stuff that they had. But that's only good if you stay on the bike. So now you're going to have a seatbelt that tethers, keeps you on the bike for all that to work. And that, I don't know. These are better.
What John is talking about is not fictitious. It's real. John's not talking about something that doesn't actually exist. John is talking about something that actually does exist.
But that would help you with the, I hit something instead of me going through the handlebars, I hit a bag. That would be pretty decent. And that's always there. It's not even something that's cumbersome. It's just, it's out of sight, out of mind. Yeah. It deploys in a dire situation.
And you don't have to think about it. That's the other thing. I'm not going to put this up on the podcast because we will get demonetized or whatever, because fucking YouTube. But anyway, I'm going to put a still up for our podcast listeners at home. But if you can download an image or a video of the Honda airbag deploying, actually going off, it's kind of incredible. I mean, it is 100% going to save lives. And that's something that no other manufacturer has approached. I know that in my particular pickup truck, I have 8 airbags, right? There's no shortage. In fact, I would feel safer in my pickup truck in a crash, in a horrible collision, than just about anywhere else. And in the video, and so I'm just, for our podcast listeners, I'm going to put a still up. But in the video, the man takes it right in the chest, right? That airbag happens in 1/100th of a second.
That's kind of awesome.
It's kind of awesome. And I've ridden these motorcycles with this airbag installed. So when you buy the Honda Goldwing now, you can buy it in one of two ways. And the one way, it has a giant entertainment center in that panel. And then the other way, it has an airbag in that panel. So that panel, when this thing goes off, it goes off boy howdy. I have 2 issues with it. One is that it is flesh colored. And 2 is that it looks like somebody's buttocks. So that when it does deploy, you are seriously sticking your face into the chocolate starfish of a 400-pound man. They could have made it any other color.
I prefer to consider it a woman, but though you can stick your face in a man if you want.
Whatever makes you happy, man.
That's like Graham's butt.
It is a big old butt. So, but that's the way the system works. And it's magic. I mean, the fact that motorcycle in every way is a completely normal motorcycle. There's nothing about it from the outside that would be like, oh, by the way, this is the Nerfomatic 1800 safety cycle. So it just looks fucking horrible from the outside, right?
It's just a bumper with wheels.
What noise does it make? Yeah, it wouldn't be any fun at all, right? So, I mean, that's where I think that Honda should be given some serious fucking props for that.
Yeah.
Because it didn't destroy the motorcycle. It didn't fuck up the aesthetic of it.
How about that as an idea? A low side preventer. It's an airbag that pops out the side of the bike. And it's a careful calculus on your speed, the gravity, the inertia.
Yeah.
And if the bike tips past a certain point, it goes poof and sets you back up.
Yeah.
That's a good idea.
So,
I mean,
Just like a wheel on an arm that comes out.
Yeah.
well, you could do that, but I mean, nobody wants. This is just a little airbag unit that's just poof.
yeah.
Or a little missile. Like it shoot like it's something like a projectile to punch out.
A sabot.
Yeah.
Punches it into the ground.
or maybe just slow down a little bit.
That's no fun. Though.
BMW wanted desperately. I mean, BMW wanted so hard to make an uncrashable motorcycle. And so you can look this up. This is an easy thing, and I'll throw a couple of links up so people can see it. But BMW tried so hard to make an uncrashable motorcycle that they came up with this fucking abomination. And
Like, what are you gonna do with that?
Well, you're not going to low side.
No.
I'm pretty sure Cinch could crash that.
That's exactly what I described.
that is exactly what Dan described.
Oh.
That is 100% what Dan described. So yeah. So just
Wheel on a stick.
It's a wheel on a stick. So yeah. Okay. Explain that one at the bike night. Okay, Timmy Tough Guy. All right. He's making a left turn. Everybody duck. That's it. So BMW came up with a motorcycle, though, an old R Series bike that had air-powered outriggers that folded into the body of the motorcycle. And that when the motorcycle would go over at an extreme angle, these would pop out. And so they would pop out, and you could set it so they would either deploy whoosh, whoosh, at red lights, you didn't have to put your feet down. Or in extreme levels of turning, they'd pop out if you went too far, and they would pop out and they would gently push you back up again. What they forgot was that in extreme levels of turning, we need that lean.
Right.
There's a reason people scrape their knee pegs or et cetera. And so when they had the thing and it was leaned over in a curve and it would deploy, you had this beautiful lean angle going into a turn, and it would deploy and it would push you out of your turn.
Oh, yeah, it would.
So that would meant that you would go left of center at traffic.
Oh, yeah.
That's a bad fucking idea. It's going to be hard to market that one. What's going to be harder still is this fucking contraption. So, but the idea was the uncrashable or cornering technique system. And yeah, I've been to wheelie school where I rode a motorcycle that was on a rig that was designed that would let you wheelie but not overcook it.
Right.
So you could go to 11 o'clock, but you couldn't go to 12:30. Right. And so you're on a rig when you do that.
Yep.
And it's fun and it builds your confidence up and stuff like that.
It gives
and,
you clutch control.
Oh, it certainly does give you that.
That's usually the hardest part of learning that stuff.
And it takes away that pucker factor of like, oh, I overcooked it. I'm going to Pee Wee Herman this fucker
and also,
down.
as soon as it's somebody else's bike, half the pucker factor's gone anyway. So you're like, give me that throttle.
When it's somebody else's 1200 Bandit, you can get a little more friendly with it.
That's it. Hey, so speaking of BMWs, you happen to mention this. I have a tip for our listeners. This is a real easy one.
Okay.
All right. When somebody mentions a motorcycle, just be real positive until you find out why they're asking about it.
Oh.
I had a friend hit me up and he's like, "You ever hear of the BMW R18?" I'm like, the bike that BMW teased awesomely and then produced a halfway mediocre representation of it. Ooh. He was like, "Yeah, I just bought one."
Yeah.
I was like, fuck.
Nice.
I mean, yours looks great. Did you do something with the pipes?
So what you're trying to tell me is just don't be an asshole.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Fair enough. I'll work on that.
Oh no, your BMW is amazing.
Yeah. I didn't see yours. Oh, yours. No, if I would have saw yours first, I mean, obviously.
Looks good on you.
Yeah. Yeah.
I come with a bowl of soup.
Yeah, exactly.
Free bowl of soup.
Well, that's when you do think about, we're pretty polarized, right? So in our group, there, people are like, oh, well, this bike's great or that bike's great or this bike sucks or that bike sucks. Yeah, I pretty much, since I've owned a motorcycle shop for the past 23 goddamn years, I've gotten real good at being like, oh, so you've got an Intruder 1400. How do you like it? Like,
well, I didn't know he had
whatever
it.
They say.
Yeah.
Hey, what do you think about the...
I'm just saying a general question about any motorcycle. He didn't say,
what do you think about the Scram 441?
Exactly.
Oh, do you have one? Do you like it?
Yeah, do you like it? That's
No, but
my
I'm
new
thinking
thing.
about it. What do you think about it? And I'm like, oh, okay. Well, there you go.
Well, you got to lead to a second question and get more info
Yeah, I
before
think
you
you're
give
right.
your honest opinion of anything. That's what I'm getting at. Took me 52 years now to figure that out, but I got it down.
So how long have you had the Snack 400? Sorry, buddy.
Your Volusia
Volusia?
is the best Volusia.
It's pronounced Voluser. Let's just pronounce it right.
ever.
Yeah, there's an implied R at the end of that.
No. Every real adventurer I know has a fucking Ural.
That's why all the best European rescue and police bikes are all Urals.
Right.
When you really want to save somebody's life, Ural. That's exactly it. Yeah. When it absolutely positively has to get to its destination, Ural's the only thing I'm thinking.
Right.
Obviously. Yeah. Pff, come on, of
Two-wheel
course.
drive version only.
Whatever. It doesn't matter. Yeah. It doesn't. Honestly. Come on. Yeah. That's the least of its problems. Having one too many drive wheels is not the Ural's major problem.
I was thinking if they just put little wheels on the ends of the cylinders of the boxer engines, you'd never go over.
You'd never go over.
It's true. That's, I'm surprised somebody. Karyakin probably makes that. There's a part number in Karyakin for those things somewhere. Or no, what's the BMW manufacturer? Like, what's the big?
I'll show you a picture.
Isn't there like a major like Karyakin does all the stuff for the cruisers, but BMWs have like I'm sure it's some Germany.
I gotta bring this picture up. So there's a buddy of mine I used to race with in Arma, and he campaigned a BMW, and he had knee pucks for the heads.
Yep.
Oh yeah.
and they were just there was nothing sophisticated about them. They were knee pucks. They were just knee pucks, and he did need the shit out of them.
I was gonna say it probably makes sense.
It makes perfect sense. It made perfect goddamn sense. But the first time I saw it, I went, "Huh? Well, there you go." Because I've only been on my airhead. I've only been over far enough to hit noise like metal. Like
how far
once.
can they go over?
Pretty fucking far.
That's what I'm saying. Like, is it like
All the way.
Pretty far. They can go over pretty far.
Now, they do, most BMW, if you can racing for airheads, they have a lower frame rail that actually raises the engine up just about
lifts
5
the motor
inches.
up. Yeah, lifts the motor up a lot.
Yeah.
But
But that's what you don't want to do, though, is raise your center of gravity.
center of gravity goes up too high. You get too many problems.
But on an airhead, it actually does help with the lean over.
It's a very, very interesting thing because I've only done that one time that did not involve a crash.
Too bad you couldn't make the heads up at an angle.
What?
Oh, you mean like that?
Like more of a
like
V.
maybe a 90? Like maybe a 90 degree
the
V?
best bike in the world, like a CX 500.
Oh, like a CX 500. Well, but if it could only be Italian and less reliable.
Yeah, right.
Can we do that?
Yeah,
It
they
still
don't know.
raises the center of gravity.
It still raises the center of gravity. You're right. It still raises the center of gravity. But you're absolutely right. But that is a very that's a funny thing when you get to start thinking about when you design a motorcycle and you design a motorcycle a certain way. Nobody at the factory ever thought that people are going to race this thing. People were like, they're going to ride it through the goddamn mountains, right? They're going to ride it through the Swiss Alps. They're going to go look at tulips and shit. They're not going to put it on a racetrack.
I like how really old vintage GP bikes had the mufflers with the flat spot.
Yes.
Where it's a round muffler, but they flattened them
Literally
out.
flattened
Like,
it.
why didn't they just upsweep them like a half a con air? Like, I don't know.
Because it was an afterthought. They built it and they were like, holy shit, this guy's leaning
The
this thing
lowest
over.
point is the muffler. Okay, we'll just make a flat spot.
As you look at these, and because they're all stamped, right? So they're all stamped, and you're like, it's so beautiful. It's a perfectly rounded cone, and it's a cylinder. It goes into a cone, and it goes into a smaller cone, and it goes into a smaller cylinder called the header. It's so elegant. Now, John, get the lump hammer over here. Let's knock some clearance into this son of a
Put a
bitch.
nice flat side on it.
Just knock some clearance into this fucker. And you're like, oh, man, come on. It's like, yep, flat as fuck. It's just garbage. And, since the Japanese became so cool at exposed seals or exposed seams, you can't have a motorcycle. Japanese motorcycles, every Japanese motorcycle gas tank has got that fucking seam that goes all the way around the bottom.
Yeah.
That just shows you, like, we like you, but we like saving money too. Like, we like you. We're going to put decent paint on it, but we're going to make it cheap to build. And when you see that seam that goes around every Japanese motorcycle's gas tank, and I don't care whose it is, as much as Harley Davidson, gets its balls busted, it would never let a gas tank seam leave the factory. It would also never let an exhaust seam leave the factory. And when you look at every JDM motorcycle, that is it's just exposed goddamn pinch welds everywhere. Every goddamn where. And when you look at a Ducati or you look at even a goddamn Royal Enfield or a Harley Davidson, you never see an exposed pinch weld anywhere. And it's like the Japanese were like, it's good enough for Fords, it's good enough for Chevys, it's good enough for Chryslers. Print it, make it. Well, but you can see it. I know.
That's why they sell that chrome sticky stuff at AutoZone.
The press-on trim.
Yeah.
So now you're calling attention to it.
Yeah.
Can we make that brighter?
CB750s have their own little trim that
I
goes-
know.
Crips right on.
Crips
that
right
thing.
on. They were like, let's turn this disaster into a feature.
But see,
Yeah.
that always falls off. So you have to go to AutoZone and you get the
Buy
fucking,
the stick-on replacement chrome for it. Get it from J.C. Whitney if you're old.
But where do they all rust out? Right at that seam.
At that exact seam, too, because if it's a seam on the outside, it's a seam on the inside as well, which means it's a valley.
Yeah.
It's a pinch point. And that is God's truth. I've looked at some horrible British motorcycles from the 50s and 60s. They don't have that fucking seam. And it gives them just a little bit more integrity, even though I know they're waiting to fall apart, even though I know they're garbage. It gives them just a little bit more integrity than that fucking split seam. And Honda, Suzuki will design a beautiful motorcycle and be like, couldn't you have made that fucking thing go away?
Yeah.
You're looking down, you're sitting on your motorcycle. The handlebars make sense. The triple clamps make sense. The gauges make sense.
We put a 4x4 Lotus Blossom exhaust on this motorcycle.
Thank you.
Oh, yeah, but it has seams.
We have 17 unnecessary pressings in our exhaust so they could look like lotus blossoms.
Right.
But we have a giant seam that I can look at 21 inches in front of my dick the entire time I'm riding and just know that this was not built to the highest standard.
Yeah, like think about this. What the CB 160s or whatever?
Yeah.
they had it right down the tank. The 200s.
Yes.
It wasn't even on the side.
No, it was
like
in the middle of the fucking tank.
Yeah.
Seriously. And you're like, oh, that's quality build right there.
Yeah, and like the OCD of my brain of like having everything symmetrical. You look down and
They're
it's
never
not symmetrical.
They're never
No.
symmetrical. In fact, if you see one that's symmetrical, it's been crashed.
They must, I have a feeling that they liked that because it adds.
Slow down.
Time for the Bourbon Blaster 3000.
It adds rigidity or something like that. Like, oh, like. Well,
Okay, all right.
It's like. It's like
So it's strengthening ribs.
Yeah, I don't know.
Dude, that
It
picture.
has all the sophistication of a drop tank
It
on
was
an old
carefully
airplane.
engineered.
Dude, I think what happened with that picture that you have up of the BMW dude.
Yeah.
They must have got the prop master from the earlier Doctor Who episodes to create the fucking engineering on that.
Oh, they had a $7 budget. Is what
Yeah.
you're trying to say.
Like, what are those fucking tubes made of? They're like
I
it looks
don't
like
know.
it looks like
PVC.
pool noodles. It's
I
like,
don't know.
PVC and pool noodles with a fucking Harbor Freight wheel stuck on
You know
the end
what?
of it.
I'm gonna tell you what. I'm gonna dive into my brain of brains, and I'm gonna say, knowing a thing or two about BMW, it's aluminium. Do you know why? It has just enough yield so that when you tilt that thing over, because there's only one triangle. See the triangle at the bottom of it?
Yeah.
So there's one gusseting. There's one series of gusseting on it, and then it's adjustable. So if you look at the picture on the thing, it is adjustable. I'll bring up a better picture for our listeners at home. Okay, there you go. So if you look at a better picture for listeners at home, there you go. If you look at that thing, you'll see that it is completely fucking adjustable. And that, to me, that's what says that this particular thing was meant to have a certain amount of flex in it. It was not meant. And honestly, for those little agricultural tires that are on that son of a bitch, those could have been skids.
Yeah.
For all the good they're going to do.
Skis, yeah.
Yeah, they could have been skis. Those things could have been skis. They could have been anything. It didn't matter.
Like a tail dragger plane.
Yep, exactly. At this point, this is more like the guy, remember Blondin? You don't remember Blondin because he was dead before you were born, but the guy who walked across Niagara Falls on a wire. The secret isn't that you're standing up there. You have a long ass pole that drops your center of balance and your center of gravity below the wire. And without the pole, you're fucked.
Yep.
And honestly, with this kind of a rig, it's as much that than it is anything else. Because by the time you tip the motorcycle far enough that little 4-inch agricultural tire hits the ground, the exercise is over. Now getting it back up, that could be a little bit interesting.
Call your friends.
Call your friends, or just feel like you kind of coast in on its side and be like, okay, try that again.
It's funny because like when they showed this picture in India, they were like, we could fit our whole family on both sides of it.
Well, and it's also good for those Chinese roads that are 15 lanes wide, but nobody's on them.
Yeah.
So you could totally do that. Don't get me wrong. I would love it. I would totally give this thing a rip, and I would bury it. But it is kind of funny when this became would you like to learn how to corner better? Let's put a 10-foot pole on both sides of your motorcycle.
Right.
Because the second you take that away, it's not there anymore.
Oh, yeah.
Your brain acknowledges that you've literally had your safety net removed. Mm-hmm. So it's not going to be the same experience twice because that's got to change the handling of the motorcycle a little bit. Yeah, for sure. Anything? What were the other topics you want to talk about? Anything?
So a woman was in a coma.
Oh boy.
She had been in for a bunch of months.
Oh boy.
The nurses were in her room giving her a bed bath. One of them was washing her private area and noticed that there was a slight response on the monitor whenever she touched her there. They tried it again, and sure enough, there was a definite movement. They went to her husband and explained what happened, telling him, crazy as this sounds, but maybe a little oral sex will do the trick and bring her out of the coma. Good God, the husband said. But they assured him that they would close the curtain for privacy. The husband finally agreed, went into his wife's room. A few minutes later, the woman's monitor flatlined, no pulse, no heart rate. The doctor ran into the room and said, what happened? She's choking, Doc.
Oh. You guys remember our podcast listener, Dave Osterday?
Yes.
I may have mentioned Dave before. Yeah. Guess what?
Hey, Dave.
Dave is back. Baby Corinne joined us about 10 weeks early.
Wow.
Whoa.
10 weeks.
10 weeks early. So we've been spending a lot of time at the NICU. That's the natal intensive care unit. The neonatal intensive care unit. And all of you have helped me get through it. I need to put some funding out there when I can. 3 stars. So, man, Dave, here's to you, man.
Good luck.
Good luck indeed. Because
Nice job.
my nephew Braxton was born at 26 weeks or yes. Oh, really early. When I put Braxton in my hand the first time, he didn't fill my whole hand up.
That's crazy.
And he's a great kid. Fucking awesome kid. So, man, what you're going through, good on you, man. Good on you. That is fantastic. I'm so happy for you. I hope everything goes great. I feel shameful that you've been listening to our podcast when you should
For
be
laughs.
right when you should be taking care of your family in this time of stress. But no, honestly, fuck, it's good to blow off some steam, man.
Wow.
Yeah, good for you.
I got an email.
Yeah, you do?
And it's for you actually.
Okay.
Well, kinda.
Oh boy, here we go.
It says, hey, a while back, Phil wasn't convinced that I'm from Sweden. I now submit proof of the fact. Ride low and chase panties, my bro from another hoe. And it's Jimmy Yamaha, and this is his proof that he is Swedish.
Vert de Ferk. It's got the Swedish chef on it saying Vert de Ferk. Oh, that's fantastic.
I love that shirt.
I did debate. I did legitimately have my questions whether or not he was actually Swedish.
He's
Yeah,
the
like
he's the
rucksack and
sweetest Swede
Swedish
out there.
meatballs or get the fuck out.
Can he assemble
Swede.
IKEA?
Reach down and grab your rucksack. That's it, man. Oh man, that's fucking cool. That's super
was a good
badass.
one, yeah.
I
I'd
love
like
that
to thank
shit.
our Patreons. I
Yeah.
always like the Patreons.
It really is.
Let's see here. Wait.
We the reason that you guys were coming into Patreon season, so there's a certain time of the year where Clevelandmoto podcast gets spendy, and this is it. We're building up a bank account right now for AMA Vintage Days, and we did good last year.
We need something stupid to spend some Patreon money. Like, what's the...
Well, the biggest thing is the RV passes.
Yo, yeah.
I mean,
So the RV passes, they do get a little hostile.
This year, they
it's
definitely.
ridiculous this year.
It is. It went up a bit. So the RV passes got a little hostile. The booth, I'm debating whether or not we're going to be able to just do one booth for the swap meet because we do have a lot of stuff. Tom has been dancing around the Mid-Ohio pile. And the Mid-Ohio pile
Will
gets...
this be Tom's first Mid-Ohio?
yes, it will be.
Yeah, we were talking about that before you guys got
It
here.
will be. Wait.
Wow.
He doesn't
Oh, God.
understand. He doesn't. He thinks that because he went to band camp for 20 years,
Well,
he has an
and-
idea
and-
of what Mid Ohio.
And Barber, no less.
Yeah, but that nothing. None of that is relevant. That's
What?
like I've been to Pizza Hut, so I've been to Italy.
Oh,
You know what I mean?
We have managed...
oh God.
We have amassed a fleet of shit boxes.
Nice.
I mean...
Oh
of-
yeah, no.
of
The entire
the
back room
highest
is shit
order.
boxes.
We're going to have to put at least a week, and I mean a week prior to Vintage Days,
Yeah.
making shit run.
The herpetitis will be strong in this booth.
Good news is, though, we got some good titles, which we don't normally have. We've got some good titles. So I've been really decent about only shaking the trees that have titled bikes in them. So we've picked up some real scraps, but I think that these are going to be perfect for Mid-Ohio.
A big shout out to Phil and Renee for getting me a replacement title for the mouse-eaten one. Had to run the long con. Go
That
back
was-
to the original owner who had to go back. And yeah, there had to be some bounty money, which I got to pony up some bounty money, but it happened. I'm very impressed.
In the
And
state
I think Renee deserves some Blackbird Bakery. I want to get that.
Renee, yeah, she likes those chocolate chip cookies with the salt on the bottom.
Oh, she always liked the raspberry jammers before.
She does like those too, yeah. What's funny is in Ohio, titles are very tough. It's very hard in Ohio if you do not have a title to get a title. And in this particular situation, John had a title for a while. And then the mouse had a title.
The bucket traps out there. It's just collecting them.
You mean the no recovery swimming pool?
Yeah, splash another one. So satisfying.
It's like the carp at the Linesville spillway where the ducks are walking on the mice's back. There's so many mice floating.
I set it to first. I set it up, and all of a sudden the peanut butter was gone, and there were no mice. I'm like, what happened? And well, like the trap door had gotten stuck.
Oh, it hung up just enough.
Yeah, but now that it's working great.
Dude, and to John's point of using the awful thing,
Yeah.
my wife, I got that one from you, but of course my wife is not going to put anything in the bottom of it.
No,
right?
she puts fruit in the bottom
Right.
of it.
So I've physically watched her take 3 mice, walk out into the backyard and dump them, and I watched those fuckers
They
run
run
back,
right
and they
back.
made it
Oh,
back in
yeah.
the door before she got in.
Wait,
Absolutely.
You ready? Ready?
Yeah.
My wife.
The trap we're talking about is a 5-gallon bucket with a walkway that goes up to the 5-gallon bucket and has the slide for life for the mice. It's really fun. It's a load of fun. They get to take a nice little trip right down to the 5-gallon bucket. And if you put about, 6 inches of water in there, well, they get to have a little spa session. You know, they
But
get to,
John used motor oil with them.
it doesn't matter what you use. You could use Prestone because they go out stupid. You could use water. They last longer. It's a longer fight.
You could use bourbon.
You could use bourbon and just make them all happy. Right. It doesn't matter. But the point is, what I did learn is if you use nothing.
Yeah.
If you use nothing. Because when I put them out, Dr. Waters was like, you are not going to put water in the bottom of those
Right.
buckets.
Same with my wife. Yeah.
She's like, nope. You're going to live catch them. And then you're going to take them and distribute them somewhere.
Gonna
Which again,
rehabilitate them.
But you know what's funny?
Now look, you're not going to do this again. I don't want this happening
you
ever
stop
again.
breeding.
So, but here's the funny part. So my wife kept taking these fucking mice out, right?
Yeah.
But then we finally opened and we let the cats into the house. Well, now there's no more mice.
Right.
Because, all her saved mice got eaten by cats.
Of course.
So she got to walk in the room and saw these 2 cats playing volleyball with this fucking mouse. They're like, awesome.
That's how you know that a cat is a supreme killing machine.
Yeah.
Because my cat will find a mouse in the basement. I have mouse traps in the basement. Yeah. He will get a mouse before the mouse gets to the trap. And he will cart it around the house in his mouth like it's a little baby cat or whatever. And he'll cart it around the house and he'll tour the house. He'll be like, look at this room and look at that room. And he'll just play with it. And he'll bat it and it'll get it again. He'll bat it and get it again. And I come home and I'm like, are you going to kill that fucking thing or what? But he will not. He wants to stretch out the enjoyment to the mouse.
Yeah.
He has
They're
no
sadistic little fuckers, man.
Well, he's not hungry enough.
I don't know about a killing machine. I mean, have you seen a mouse?
Yeah, I have.
It's not really hard to kill a mouse.
No, they're not.
And it's not really hard to even catch a mouse.
No.
I won't
I
say
get it. I get it.
But
yeah. Right.
I mean, so like,
But I'm saying
you
that
want
the-
to impress me, take down a caribou or something like that. The fact that you're running around here just killing little mouse, I don't know.
A cat's just fucking sinking his teeth into a caribou. Like,
Look, the eagles in my backyard now. We're getting the eagles popping in.
Antelope action or something.
The eagles are popping in, and the squirrels are fucked. Like the squirrels used to be like, this is nirvana for us. The squirrels in Avon Lake we could just crossbreed and do all kinds of crazy stuff. We are squirrels. We're at the top of our game. And there was only 1 or 2 red hawks that would show up and do their job, but not too much. The bald eagles have moved in. And now that the bald eagles have moved in, the squirrels are fucking nervous. Like you'll see a squirrel, they don't go near anything that casts a shadow. Like the squirrels will see a shadow move and they will just disappear. They're just gone. But I have seen the bald eagles come down and take like numerous. But what's fun is all the people that live in my neighborhood are starting to get these punk rock vests for their dogs. So these dogs are wearing bondage gear. So the dog's got a vest on with big 21-inch Liberty spikes on it.
Chainmail.
It's got these big plastic punk rock spikes coming out of the vest so that Fluffy can go out and use the yard without the golden eagles proving how great America is against your Chihuahua. And it's like Remember the Alamo sometimes, where you see an eagle flying away. In my neighborhood, you'll see an eagle with a giant fish in its mouth. You'll see an eagle with a bunny in its mouth and that kind of thing. I'm waiting to see the Shih Tzu just disappear.
As long
Off
as
into
that
the
Shih Tzu
forest.
is listening to GBH, it's fine.
It's funny as hell. But anywho, wanted to talk for a second because today was a big moment for us. We are going to pimp yet again the Distinguished Gentleman's Ride. Why? Because I keep getting email. Here's the rule, guys. If you read the DGR's website, it says very clearly what kind of motorcycle you should ride. Okay. I'm going to pull it up so people can see it. All right. If your motorcycle does not conform to its style guide, because yes, they do call it the Distinguished Gentleman's Style Guide. And I'll pull it up so everybody can see the fucking thing. If your motorcycle does not conform to the style guide, we are told as organizers of DGR, people who are running the event, we are told to invite the person to ride at the back of the ride. Okay. Now, that probably works just about everywhere, but I'm not going to do that. Okay. They have a style guide, and their style guide defines Cafe Racer. It defines Janice.
Yeah, I was about to say Smith, the one
idiot out there.
Clearly, it might as well say
Chris Smith.
Where it says classic, it might as well just say Janice.
Yeah,
It should just say Halcyon. There's no question that their style guide.
I like that some of our more modern or less not vintage bike guys.
Right, yeah.
We're doing a lot of the traffic.
Yes.
You know, they were helping
traffic.
with-
Right, exactly. Safety patrol.
Safety
patrol is a good way to put it. Okay. So what's funny is as this event has progressed over the years, they have now opened up some different classes that didn't exist before. Triumph sponsorship. Modern Classic. Looks a lot like a Thruxton. Okay, Modern Classic. And then Chopper. So Chopper exists now. So Chopper is a class. So you can have a chopper in your DGR thing. And then, of course, you can have a brat, and you can have a, what is that? What's that one called? The Commander? The Triumph Bobber?
Oh, yeah,
What
Bobber.
about a
It's called the Bobber.
What about a scrambler?
Well, yeah, you can have a scrambler. So the Bobber might as well have the Triumph logo on the gas tank as
Yeah,
it's
Jesus Christ, dude.
it's
They
it's
still
pretty
did-
strong.
Yeah, fuck.
Right. And then you've got your tracker.
Which also has a Triumph motor.
which also and then the scooter
Yeah.
with no front fender.
No, you don't need that.
You don't need that.
It's a racing one.
Okay. So here's the thing, guys. I
What's
have
below
gotten
the tracker? There's one more.
what's that?
What's below it?
A sidecar?
Oh.
Scrambler? Right?
Oh, they got them all?
They got them all.
Oh, there you
Okay, sidecar,
Oh, they do
scrambler.
have the scrambler. Thank you.
Another Triumph.
Modern Classic Electric. Who's that for? Anyone?
No.
Anyone?
Oh, maybe the guy that was at the fuel show that took the 1911 Indian and
And put an electric in it?
they're trying to entice him.
I love this, that there's a class for Modern Classic Electric.
Well, I think in some of the bigger cities, though, there
Yeah.
are guys electrifying like CB350s
fine.
and shit like that. Yeah.
Okay. I'm going to give you the Clevelandmoto DGR Phil Waters, Unky Phil if you're nasty rule. If your motorcycle is modern, the more modern and not DGR-ish your motorcycle is, the more spectacular your attire should be.
Yeah, right.
Right. So if you're riding a Hayabusa, I don't want you out there in anything less than a tux with tails. Right? Fair enough. If you're riding a modern motorcycle, you should have what should be construed as a costume, not just the suit and tie you wear to Sunday dinner. Because a lot of people do wear the suit and tie they wear to Sunday dinner. They look fine. They look great. They look dapper, but it's not really a costume. It's just what they look like when they're going to court. If you're my friends.
You got
leading
Smith
with the
that
judge.
one.
I say like Wayne shows up one time and I'm like, well, you've only worn that that suit twice.
Yeah.
Funeral, court. That's it.
Divorce.
Divorce. Yeah. So there's my rule. My rule is if the motorcycle's modern, the less your motorcycle is ye oldie timey,
Yeah.
Chris could go there wearing a spacesuit if he's on the Janus. He could literally wear Drinkos on the Janus and balance it out because the Janus is the definition of an entire class that they have on their website.
Yeah.
Right? The Janus is the most distinguished classic motorcycle that will show up at this event. It absolutely is.
Wait, look at the classic says a rare what is it? A rare
take it.
gem that's 35 years old.
Oh, yeah.
That classic is like 135.
I know,
years
the
old.
one they've got in the pictures.
Yeah.
Look, it's an artist interpretation.
Yeah.
I get it. I totally understand. And they're still giving their homage to Triumph there as, principal sponsors, etc.
Yeah.
But what I would like to say is consult your local DGR. That's fine if you're not sure about the rules. 1, be cool. 2, dress up. Don't show up with the shit you normally wear riding.
Yeah.
I got to say, that's one thing I love about our Cleveland group that shows up. Everybody, women, ladies, children, everybody who shows up completely participates in it. And everybody there is there to have a really fun time and to see our friends that we only see a couple of times a year. So it's super cool. We're very happy about it. Couldn't be more happy about the way ours goes off. It's Sunday the 21st everywhere. That's just where it is. You have to go online if you want to learn about it. You have to register. So don't just ruck up at the place. Don't just be like, oh, I talked to Larry, who talked to Bill, who talked to Dave, and told us that the meeting point is wherever. No, don't just fucking show up. The reason they want you to register is not because they're trying to get money out of you. It is goddamn free. Certain cities have put a minimum in it. So like certain cities like LA, where they have way too many people participating, you've got to raise $25 or whatever to participate because they have too many people doing it. Once you get over 150 people, it becomes impossible to get that group through the city. If you've ever led a ride, if you've ever done a group ride, anything over 150 people is straight up. You are going to have the police involved. They're going to have to shut the intersection down for a bit to get through. We keep our ride under 150 because historically speaking, that's what we can get through a series of red lights and still keep the group together. We lay the route out so it's all right-hand turns. We lay the route out so that at any point, if you fuck up, it's very obvious where we're going to be having our next point to get our shit together again. And we're going to be staying there for 35, 45 minutes. So if your bike blows up, our local Triumph dealer is going to be providing a chase van this year. So that's great. So they're donating their time and their
They'll
vehicle.
be able to pick up all the Triumphs. And
I would be very curious to see what ends up in the back of the van. Because every year I'm like, oh boy, hope it's not one of mine. Because you don't want to be that guy. You don't be like,
There's some dudes that show up with the same rat shitty bike they had. They only ride it once a year.
Yeah.
Like the brakes were out in '86 and they still haven't fixed the brakes and shit like that. Like I'm surprised at some of the bikes that actually make
The
it.
one year Renee was running Chase in the Tundra.
Yeah.
Renee was running Chase in the Tundra. We left out of Porco. A guy broke down 30 feet from Porco.
Yeah.
And Renee was like, what the fuck? Well, you know that the time of putting that bike in the back of the truck, I was like, you shouldn't have put the bike in the back of the truck. You should have just rolled it back to fucking Porco.
Yeah. Done.
You're there. You're done. Your event's over. Maybe he gets in the truck. That's fine. But the time it took them to put the bike in the back of the truck, they'd lost complete hope of.
Yeah.
And by the time they got to the next breakdown and the next breakdown, we had a VersaHaul in the back of the truck so that we could do 3 bikes. So we were allowed to have 3 breakdowns. And by the time we got to our destination, we had 3 breakdowns and 2 that were still out there on the road that needed rescued. Jeez. So I hope that this event used to be in late September. The bikes usually ran pretty good by then. May 21st is anybody's fucking bet. So May 21st is pretty early in the year. I hope your shit's dialed.
Yeah.
If not, you'll get in the back of the Triumph van. And they'll sell you a new bike by the time you get to the next destination. You work your way into some kind of a cool Thruxton or something. Get a Tiger. I hear they're great. So that's it. Anybody got anything else? Fuck it. That's a podcast. Yeah. Not joking. We do miss you, Oscar.
Yeah.
Fucking God damn it. I hope you're having a good time because we miss you over here. Back here in Cleveland. We miss you real bad.
Here.
Oh, yeah. On Tuesday, I had another year around the thing. And so all the people were saying, hey, happy year around the thing.
Right.
And
Yeah.
Oscar put it on there. And I was like, oh,
Oscar. That is a solid gold cat right there.
I think an Oscar's SSR, I found it. It's in the garage out at Oberlin. I'm like, oh.
That's Oscar's bike.
That's
Yeah.
the orange one. He probably needs a new lever on it or something. I'm going to start whipping that trick.
Well, I have a box of levers at the shop.
Yeah.
We should be, those bikes should all be dialed in. And I've decided I am going to take my screws out for Mid Ohio. I was going to leave my ice screws in
Just
and
take
just
a
run
different
it.
bike.
Dude,
Take Oscar's
How
bike.
much, listen, for the amount of time that you guys have into those tires,
Yeah.
how much is 2 wheels from SSR?
It's not that bad.
I think you'd do
Yeah,
that better.
it's not that bad.
Like now, the reason I'm saying that
Yeah.
is because we've ridden those bikes probably 8 to
Yeah,
10 times.
yeah,
There's not one fucking screw out of that tire.
No, they're remarkable how good they hold in there.
Like,
I mean, yeah.
and ask John.
It seems a shame to take them out and put them back in.
and
yeah, right.
the amount of I've never had traction like that on the dirt.
Ever. No, the
Nothing.
grip is insane.
It is.
Like the ice, they're not ice spikes, they're just the screws.
Yeah.
But the amount of grip that you get is
But they're
fucking
gnarly
mind
screws.
bending.
The screws have teeth.
Yeah,
Like,
they're carbide.
Yeah,
They're not just
It was
screws.
great the last time because it was just smooth,
Yeah.
clean
Yeah,
ice.
that's the secret.
And it was hooking up. It was
Yeah,
really
That's
good.
the secret.
We started getting pretty fast.
Yeah.
We were trying to. We couldn't get the back to slide though because it was fucking hooking.
No,
so
you
much.
can't get the back to slide.
No.
But I've watched where people are like, okay, well, try half as many screws, and then you can play with it a little more.
Right.
You
Or we
can
just
get-
gotta have balls and you just to stay in second gear at full throttle maybe or something
you
like that.
can get the back to slide. The problem is getting it back.
I was gonna
Yeah,
say my problem with it was that the oh shit moment, the pucker factor moment, there was so much grip on the front end of the bike
Yeah.
that as soon as I would try to fight to get something back, it was an over control situation.
Take it all the way around.
Oh, fuck that, man. It's super scary. Ice hurts.
Yeah, it does.
Ice is really hard. It turns out grass is softer than
Yeah,
ice
way
is.
softer.
And you need that inflatable suit for the ice racing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because then you look like Santa Claus when you crash.
The only
too.
good part about ice, though, if
Seasonal.
you crash on it, you're already on ice, so you just stay there and it just it keeps the swelling.
Keeps the swelling
Reduces
down.
the swelling. Yeah.
Don't get up. Don't get up. Just stay right there.
I'm going to lay on the sore spot for an hour or
Just leave
so.
me here for a while.
And the swelling will go down on its own. Yeah, I know that I missed an outing last year or two.
Yeah.
But I'm glad that we didn't have the kind of fucking ferocious winter that we had.
Yeah.
Had to go out and have our fun. That's the only way we could have fun.
Yeah.
So I'm happy that it worked out better for us that way.
Tom, you got anything?
I have nothing.
And hit the red button.
Kick his ass.